Welcome, dear friend, to this quiet moment at the end of your day. As you settle into the softness of your bed, feel the weight of your body being held by the surface beneath you. The sheets cool against your skin, the pillow cradling your head with a familiar gentleness. Outside your window, perhaps there are stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky, or maybe the moon is already climbing, casting its silver light across the world. The day is releasing you now, letting you go with a tender whisper of permission to rest. Take a breath, slow and deep, and as you exhale, imagine all the tension of the day flowing out of you like water finding its way downhill. Your shoulders soften, your jaw relaxes, your eyes, so tired from looking at screens and reading the world, can finally close and be still. This is your time now, this sacred space between waking and sleeping, between doing and being, between effort and surrender. Tonight, I want to share with you a story about something we all know too well, the feeling of being tired, deeply tired, yet still showing up, still trying, still moving forward, even when our bodies and hearts feel depleted. This is a story about gentle perseverance, about the wisdom of continuing without force, about the Zen understanding that sometimes the greatest strength lies not in pushing harder, but in staying present with softness and compassion. So let yourself sink deeper into comfort. Pull the blankets around you like a warm embrace, and as I speak, let my words become like a lullaby, carrying you toward the rest you deserve. The Ancient Garden. In a time long ago, in a monastery nestled between mountains whose peaks touched clouds, there lived a monk named Tenzo. This was not the abbot, not the most learned scholar, not the meditation master whose insights had drawn students from distant lands. Tenzo was the gardener, the tender of vegetables and herbs, the one who rose before dawn to water the earth and returned after dusk to rake the pathways smooth. The monastery garden was not particularly grand. It stretched along the eastern wall where morning sun reached first, a simple plot of turned soil where radishes grew alongside meditation walking paths, where beans climbed wooden poles next to stone lanterns, where chrysanthemums bloomed when autumn painted the mountains in shades of amber and rust. Yet this garden held a quiet reputation. Travelers who stopped at the monastery spoke of its peaceful beauty, its sense of being tended with extraordinary care. What they didn't know, what few could see, was that Tenzo was tired. He had been tired for years. Not the tiredness that comes from a single day's labor, the kind that sleep washes away like rain cleaning dust from stones. This was a deeper exhaustion, the accumulated weight of countless mornings risen to, countless days lived through, countless evenings when his body ached and his mind felt heavy as wet wool. Tenzo was 53 years old. He had arrived at the monastery at 19, carrying little but questions and a heart broken by loss. He had not intended to stay his whole life, had not planned to grow old within these walls, but days became seasons, seasons became years, and somehow the garden had become his life's work, his meditation, his practice of presence. On this particular morning, the one where our story truly begins, Tenzo woke before the bell, as he always did. His small room was still dark, the pre-dawn air cold enough to see his breath. His back hurt. This was not new. His lower back had hurt for perhaps a decade now, a dull ache that lived in his spine like a permanent guest. His knees complained when he first stood, protesting the weight they'd carried up and down the garden paths for so many years. He sat on the edge of his thin sleeping mat and breathed, just breathed. This simple act, inhaling, exhaling, feeling his ribs expand and contract, this was where his day began. not with plans or goals or ambitions, but with breath, with being alive, tired though he was, in this moment that would never come again. The bell rang, its deep bronze voice rolling through the monastery, calling the community to morning meditation. Tenzo rose, his joints creaking like old hinges, and made his way to the meditation hall. He walked slowly. He had learned long ago that hurrying made the pain worse, made the tiredness sharper. So he walked with deliberate gentleness, his feet finding the smooth stones of the pathways, his breath matching his steps. In the meditation hall, he took his place among the other monks, younger ones mostly, their backs straight, their faces fresh. Tenzo lowered himself to his cushion with care, arranging his legs, finding a position that his body could sustain. And then he sat. For 40 minutes, he sat with his exhaustion, with his pain, with his aged body and tired mind. He didn't try to transcend these things. He didn't imagine himself elsewhere. He simply sat with what was, breathing in the reality of his experience, breathing out any resistance to it. This was the practice he had learned across decades, not the practice of becoming something other than he was, but the practice of being fully present with exactly who and how he was in each moment. Tired? Yes. Sore? Yes. Still sitting? Yes. Still breathing? Yes. Still here. After meditation came simple breakfast, rice grugel, pickled vegetables, and tea. Then, as the first gray light began to distinguish sky from mountain, Tenzo made his way to his garden. This walk from the main building to the garden wall was perhaps 50 meters, but he knew every stone, every turn, every place where moss grew thick and where roots had lifted the path. His feet found the way even in the dim light, moving with the slow certainty of long habit. At the garden gate, he paused. This pause was also part of his practice, though no one had taught him to him. It had emerged naturally over the years, this moment of standing at the threshold, acknowledging the transition from the human world of buildings and bells to the green world of growing things. He bowed slightly, a gesture of respect, of greeting, of beginning again. The garden was quiet in the early morning, still holding the cool of night. Dew covered everything. The broad leaves of squash, the delicate fronds of carrots, the stones that bordered the paths. Tenzo could see where a spider had built her web between two bean poles, the silk threads outlined in droplets that caught what little light there was. He fetched his watering bucket from the small shed. The bucket was old wooden slats held with iron bands, heavy even when empty, heavier still when filled from the well. His shoulders knew this weight intimately. They had carried it 10,000 times, maybe more. He filled the bucket halfway, less than he would have carried in his youth, but always enough for what needed doing. And then he began his work, not rushing, not forcing, but moving with gentle steadiness through the familiar routine. Water for the seedlings first, the tender shoots that needed moisture to survive. Then the established plants, the ones with deep roots but still grateful for care. He worked row by row, bed by bed, his movements economical, his attention full. This is what the abbot saw when he walked the grounds after breakfast. He often walked this way, checking on the various work areas of the monastery, observing how the community functioned.
Had watched Tenzo for years. This quiet gardener who never sought attention, never complained, never asked for easier assignments despite his obvious aging. What struck the abbot this morning was the quality of Tenzo's movements. The old monk was clearly in pain. Anyone could see the stiffness in his back, the careful way he bent to pull weeds. Yet there was no suffering in his expression, no resentment in his actions. He moved like water flowing around stones, finding the path of least resistance while still reaching his destination. He worked without hurry, but without hesitation, each gesture complete in itself, sufficient, whole. The abbot watched as Tenzo paused to observe something small, perhaps an insect, perhaps a new shoot emerging. The old gardener bent low, his face close to the earth, utterly absorbed for a moment in whatever he was seeing. Then he straightened, slowly, his hand supporting his lower back, and continued on to the next row. There was something in this that the abbot recognized as profound teaching, though no words were spoken. Here was a human being meeting difficulty with presence rather than avoidance, meeting limitation with acceptance rather than bitterness, meeting tiredness with gentle continuation rather than collapse or force. "Tenzo," the abbot called softly, not wanting to startle him. The old monk turned, his weathered face breaking into a slight smile. He set down his watering bucket and walked over, wiping his hands on his work robes. "Abbot," he said, bowing, "I've been watching you work. I noticed you don't move as quickly as the younger monks assigned to help you." Tenzo nodded, unsure if this was criticism or observation. "But I also notice," the abbot continued, "that your garden is always in better condition than theirs. The plants are healthier, the paths are clearer. Everything has a quality of care that their faster work somehow misses. How is this?" Tenzo was quiet for a moment, considering. "I don't know about better, abbot. I only know that I move at the speed I can sustain. When I was young, I tried to work quickly, to accomplish much, but I exhausted myself and often made mistakes, watering too much or too little, pulling the wrong plants, missing pests until they had spread. Now I am old and tired, so I cannot work quickly even if I wanted to. I can only do what I can do, one small thing at a time, with all the attention I have in this moment. Perhaps that is enough." "You're tired?" the abbot asked. "Perhaps you need rest. We could assign the garden to younger monks." Something like sorrow passed across Tenzo's face. "I am often tired, yes, but the garden is my practice, my teacher. When I work here, I am not trying to accomplish anything except being present with what is. The plants teach me patience. The soil teaches me to keep showing up even when nothing seems to be happening. The seasons teach me that rest and growth are both necessary. I would miss these teachings." "But you're in pain," the abbot observed. "I see it in how you move." "Yes," Tenzo agreed, simply. "My body is old and it hurts. This is not a problem to be solved. It is just the truth of being in this body at this age. I work with the pain, not against it. I rest when I need to rest. I continue when I can continue. I try to be gentle with myself, as I would be gentle with a difficult seedling." The abbot was silent, considering this. "You're saying that you're tired, in pain, and yet you still show up each day to tend this garden." "Where else would I be, abbot? This is my life. These plants depend on my care. And more than that, this work gives me a place to practice being fully present, even when, especially when, I am tired and sore and would rather stay in bed. The practice is not about feeling good. It's about being here, truly here, with whatever is happening." The abbot looked out over the garden, seeing it with new eyes. Every plant, every stone, every raked path represented years of this quiet showing up, this gentle persistence, this tired old monk who kept trying not because he felt energetic or inspired, but simply because this was his practice, his way of being in the world. "You are teaching me something important," the abbot said. "I think many of us believe that practice should make us stronger, less tired, more capable. But you're showing that practice can also be about staying present with our limitations, about continuing gently even when we're depleted, about finding the sustainable pace rather than the heroic effort." Tenzo smiled. "I don't know about teaching, abbot. I just know that the radishes need thinning, and I'm the one here to do it. So I will thin them slowly and carefully, and then I will rest. And tomorrow I will come back and do whatever tomorrow requires. Not because I am particularly wise or strong, but because I have learned that gentle continuation is possible, even when grand achievements are not." The abbot bowed to the old gardener, a gesture of deep respect. "Thank you, Tenzo. Your garden teaches more than you know." As the abbot walked away, Tenzo returned to his work. His back still hurt, he was still tired, But these facts didn't stop the watering bucket from being filled, the weeds from being pulled, the seeds from being planted. Life continued, and he continued with it, gently, patiently, one small action at a time. This is the essence of what the Zen tradition calls just this, not transcending our human limitations, but showing up with them, working with them, accepting them as part of the practice rather than obstacles to it. Tenzo wasn't trying to overcome his tiredness. He was trying while tired, which is something altogether different. Understanding exhaustion through Zen eyes. To understand Tenzo's practice, to understand how one can keep trying even when tired, we need to look more deeply at what Zen Buddhism teaches about effort, exhaustion, and the nature of practice itself. In many spiritual traditions, there's an implicit or explicit message that practice should lead to transcendence. We meditate to rise above our mundane concerns. We cultivate discipline to overcome our weaknesses. We strive for enlightenment as a state beyond suffering, beyond limitation, beyond the messy reality of being human. Zen takes a different approach. At the heart of Zen is the understanding that this moment, exactly as it is, contains everything we need, not the idealized version of this moment we wish we were in. Experiencing, but this actual moment with all its imperfections, difficulties, and limitations. This includes moments when we are tired, when our bodies hurt, when we feel we have nothing left to give. The Japanese concept of gammon helps illuminate this. Gammon translates roughly as enduring patience or perseverance with dignity. It's composed of two characters, ga, meaning self or ego, and man, meaning pride or arrogance. Originally, in Buddhist contexts, the term referred to the conceit of clinging to a sense of self. But in Japanese culture, it evolved to mean something quite beautiful: the ability to endure hardship without complaint, to continue with dignity even when things are difficult. Gammon is not about forcing yourself to keep going through gritted teeth. It's not about ignoring your pain or pretending you're tired. Rather, it's about acknowledging difficulty while choosing to meet it with steady presence rather than collapse or rage. It's about finding the sustainable middle path between giving up entirely and pushing yourself to destruction. Research into chronic fatigue and burnout among helping professionals, nurses, doctors, therapists, and teachers has revealed something that Zen practitioners have known for centuries. When people try to override their exhaustion, to push through with sheer willpower, they eventually hit a wall. Burnout sets in. Compassion fatigue drains them. They become unable to continue at all. But there's another way, one that mindfulness-based interventions have proven remarkably effective. Studies show that healthcare workers who practice mindfulness experience significant reductions in emotional exhaustion and depersonalization, two key components of burnout. One study found a 36% reduction in burnout symptoms among nurses who completed an 8-week mindfulness program. The program didn't make their jobs easier or less demanding. It taught them to be present with difficulty without being consumed by it. This is precisely what Tenzo was practicing in his garden. He wasn't denying his exhaustion or his pain. He was fully aware of both. But he had learned to hold that awareness gently, to let his tiredness be part of the experience without letting it dictate everything. He could be tired and still water the plants. He could be in pain and still pull weeds. The exhaustion didn't have to stop the practice. It could be part of the practice. There's a famous story in Zen literature about Master Hakuin, one of the most influential Zen teachers in Japanese history. As a young monk, Hakuin was consumed with the desire for enlightenment. He pushed himself relentlessly, sitting in meditation for hours on end, sleeping little, eating minimally.
He practiced with fierce intensity, believing that only through extreme effort could he achieve awakening. Then, one night, everything shifted. The walls of separation dissolved, and Hakuin experienced a profound opening. He was ecstatic, convinced he had achieved the goal he'd pursued so desperately. For months afterward, he felt he was floating above the concerns of ordinary life, untouched by mundane worries. But then, the problems began. His heart felt like it was on fire, rising up against its natural course. His feet and legs were constantly cold, as if immersed in ice water. He experienced relentless buzzing in his ears, weakness, anxiety, strange visions, excessive sweating. Modern commentators might call it a nervous breakdown. Traditional accounts call it Zen sickness. Hakuin sought help from various teachers and physicians, but nothing brought relief. Finally, he heard of a hermit named Master Hakuyu, who lived in a cave in the mountains. Desperate, Hakuin sought him out. Master Hakuyu listened to Hakuin's story and said, "Your sickness comes from pushing too hard, from trying to force awakening rather than allowing it. You've practiced meditation as if making war against yourself." He taught Hakuin a different approach: gentle awareness practices, visualizations of healing energy flowing through the body, techniques for calming the nervous system rather than constantly activating it. Most importantly, he taught Hakuin to practice with compassion for himself, to honor his body's needs rather than override them. This story resonates across centuries because it speaks to a fundamental human tendency. When we want something badly, whether enlightenment, success, healing, or simply to get through a difficult period, we often believe that more effort is the answer. We push harder, try harder, demand more of ourselves. And sometimes this works for a while, but eventually the body and mind rebel. Burnout arrives, exhaustion wins. The wisdom Hakuin learned and that Tenzo embodied in his garden is that sustainable practice requires a different relationship with effort. It requires what we might call effortless effort, or trying without straining. Think of how a river flows. It moves constantly, persistently, wearing away stone over centuries, but it doesn't strain, it doesn't force. It simply follows its nature, moving around obstacles, finding the lowest path, consistent without being aggressive. The river is always trying in the sense that it's always moving towards the ocean, but it never exhausts itself in the process. This is the quality of practice that allows continuation even when we're tired. We show up, we do what we can with the energy we have, and we don't berate ourselves for not having more. We work like the river, steadily, gently, finding the sustainable path rather than the heroic sprint. Modern neuroscience helps explain why this approach works. When we're in a state of chronic stress, pushing ourselves constantly, overriding our body's signals for rest, our sympathetic nervous system stays activated. This is the fight or flight system, designed for short-term emergencies. It floods our body with cortisol and adrenaline, sharpens our focus, prepares us for action. But the human body cannot sustain this state indefinitely. When the sympathetic nervous system remains activated for weeks, months, or years, we develop the symptoms we associate with burnout: exhaustion, irritability, difficulty sleeping, weakened immune function, inability to focus, loss of empathy and connection with others. Mindfulness practices work by activating the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system that calms the body, slows the heart rate, deepens breathing, and allows recovery. Even brief periods of mindful awareness can shift our nervous system out of chronic stress mode and into a state where healing and restoration can occur. This is precisely what Tenzo was practicing in his garden. He wasn't denying his exhaustion or his pain. He was fully aware of both. but he had learned to hold that awareness gently, to let his tiredness be part of the experience without letting it dictate everything. He could be tired and still water the plants. He could be in pain and still pull weeds. The exhaustion didn't have to stop the practice. It could be part of the practice.
There's a beautiful teaching in Zen about the difference between Nen and Munen. Nen refers to thought, to the constant stream of mental activity that characterizes most of our waking life. We think about the past, worry about the future, judge ourselves and others, make plans, tell stories. This mental activity is exhausting, consuming energy even when we're physically at rest. Munen means no thought or non-thinking, but it doesn't mean the mind becomes blank or empty. Rather, it refers to a state where thoughts arise and pass without the mind grasping at them or being carried away by them. You're aware of the thought, "I'm tired," without getting caught in the story of "I'm so tired, I'll never get through this day, why am I always tired, what's wrong with me, maybe I should just give up." Tenzo had cultivated this quality of Munen. When fatigue arose, he noticed it without adding layers of judgment or narrative. "Ah, tiredness," his awareness noted, and then returned to the present task, watering this plant, pulling that weed, raking this path. The awareness of tiredness didn't consume extra energy because he wasn't fighting it or spinning stories about it. This is a crucial distinction that many people miss when they first encounter mindfulness teachings. Being present with difficulty doesn't mean pretending the difficulty doesn't exist. It means experiencing it directly, without the exhausting overlay of resistance, resentment, or catastrophizing. Think about physical pain for a moment. If you touch something hot, there's an immediate sensation, sharp, burning. But often our suffering comes not from the sensation itself, but from our reaction to it. "Oh no, this hurts. Why did I do that? Am I burned badly? Will this scar? Stupid, stupid, stupid." The actual sensation of heat might last a second, but the mental suffering can go on for minutes or hours. Similarly with exhaustion. The physical fact of being tired is one thing. The body's energy is low. Movement requires more effort. Thinking is slower. But the mental suffering we add to this, the guilt about being tired, the fear that we'll always be tired, the shame of not being able to do as much as others, the anger at ourselves for being weak, this mental suffering often far exceeds the physical fatigue itself. Tenzo had learned to experience tiredness without this extra layer of suffering. His body was tired, this was simply true, but he didn't make it mean something terrible about himself. He didn't waste energy fighting against it or wishing it were different. He acknowledged it as he acknowledged rain or sunshine, as a condition of the present moment to be worked with rather than struggled against. This acceptance doesn't mean resignation or passivity. Tenzo still tended his garden. He still showed up each day, but he worked with his limitations rather than pretending they didn't exist. When his back hurt too much to bend for extended periods, he worked in shorter sessions with rest between. When his energy was particularly low, he focused on the essential tasks and let the non-essential ones wait. He adjusted his approach to match his capacity, rather than demanding that his capacity match some idealized standard. This flexibility, this willingness to adapt practice to meet reality, is a hallmark of mature spiritual development. Young practitioners often approach practice with rigidity. "I must meditate for exactly 1 hour each morning, no matter what." But this rigidity can become another source of suffering. What happens when you're sick, when you're traveling, when circumstances change? Mature practice, like Tenzo's, finds the essential core and adapts the form to circumstances. The essential core for Tenzo was presence and care.
The form might vary, sometimes robust work, sometimes gentle tending, sometimes simply sitting by the garden offering appreciation, but the quality of presence and care remained constant. There's a concept in Zen called shoshin, often translated as beginner's mind. It refers to approaching each moment fresh without the burden of preconceptions or expectations. Shoshin allows us to be surprised by what we discover, to respond to what's actually happening rather than to our ideas about what should be happening. Each morning when Tenzo arrived at his garden, he brought this quality of beginner's mind. He didn't assume he knew what the day would require or what his body would be able to offer. He observed the garden with fresh eyes. What needs water today? Which weeds have emerged? How are the plants responding to recent weather? And he observed his own condition. How does my back feel this morning? What level of energy do I have? What pace feels sustainable? This attention to present reality, rather than adherence to fixed plans, allowed him to work sustainably. He didn't exhaust himself trying to complete a predetermined list of tasks, regardless of how he felt. He did what the moment called for and what his resources allowed. Some days this was much, some days it was little, but it was always enough, because it was all there was.
Everything that endures, everything that achieves lasting transformation does so through the accumulation of small, consistent actions over time. And this consistency is only possible when the effort is sustainable, when we pace ourselves to continue rather than burning bright and burning out. The moon offers another teaching. Night after night, the moon rises and sets, its gravitational pull creating the tides. The ocean responds, rising and falling, an endless rhythm that has continued for billions of years and will continue for billions more. The moon doesn't strain to pull the water. It doesn't try extra hard on some nights and give up on others. It simply exists in its orbit, and its mere presence creates this profound effect. Similarly, our mere presence, our simple showing up, creates effects we often cannot see. Tenzo didn't know which specific actions in his garden would prove most important. He couldn't see which seed would grow into the plant that would feed a monk on a particularly difficult day. He couldn't measure the subtle ways his peaceful presence influenced the atmosphere of the monastery. He simply showed up and did what he could, trusting that his presence and care mattered even when he couldn't quantify the results. This trust is essential to sustainable practice. If we need to see dramatic results from every effort, we'll exhaust ourselves chasing visible outcomes. But if we can trust that consistent, gentle effort matters, even when we can't immediately see how, then we can continue even through periods when nothing seems to be happening. Consider seeds germinating beneath the soil. For days, weeks sometimes, nothing visible occurs. A person who doesn't understand plants might conclude that the seeds are dead, that planting them was wasted effort. But beneath the surface, in the dark earth, the seed is busy. It's absorbing water, swelling, beginning the complex process of transformation from seed to sprout. All this essential work is invisible. Only later, when the shoot finally breaks through the soil into sunlight, does the earlier process become evident. Our own growth often follows this pattern. We practice, we show up, we continue gently, even when we see no obvious progress. And then one day, often when we least expect it, we notice that something has changed. A situation that would have overwhelmed us before feels manageable. A trigger that would have sent us spinning now barely registers. The practice has been working all along, beneath the surface of consciousness, even when we couldn't see it. Nature also teaches us about cycles, the necessity of both activity and rest, growth and dormancy. Trees don't try to maintain summer's lush growth through winter. They shed their leaves, pull their energy down into their roots, rest. This rest isn't failure or laziness. It's essential to the tree's survival and future flowering.
Similarly, our bodies and minds require cycles of effort and rest. We cannot be in high-energy production mode constantly. We need periods of restoration, of lying fallow, of gathering resources. In agricultural societies, farmers understood this. They rotated crops, let fields rest, honored the seasons of dormancy as necessary for future abundance. But modern industrial culture often denies this rhythm. We value constant productivity, continuous growth, perpetual availability. We feel guilty for resting, ashamed for needing recovery time. We push ourselves to maintain summer's output even in winter, and then wonder why we're exhausted. Tenzo understood cycles. He worked with the seasons, not against them. In spring, when energy naturally rises and growth accelerates, he planted and cultivated actively. In summer's fullness, he harvested and tended. In autumn, he prepared the garden for winter, gathering seeds, composting the spent plants, protecting tender perennials. And in winter, he rested more. Not completely, there was still watering to do, paths to maintain, but he allowed himself slower rhythms, shorter work periods, more time for meditation and study. This honoring of natural cycles allowed him to sustain his practice across decades. He didn't demand the same output from himself in all seasons. He adjusted his expectations to match the energy available, both in the garden and in his own body. The ocean's waves offer another meditation on gentle persistence. Stand on any shore and watch the waves arrive. Each one rolls in, breaks against the sand or rocks, and withdraws, only to be followed by another, and another, and another. This pattern continues whether anyone watches or not, whether the day is sunny or stormy, whether the beach is crowded or empty. The waves just keep coming, each one doing its small work of shaping the shoreline. No single wave dramatically transforms the landscape, but the cumulative effect of millions of waves arriving and retreating over years and centuries carves cliffs, smooths stones, shapes coastlines. The power lies not in any individual wave, but in the relentless, gentle continuity of the process. This is what it means to keep trying even when tired. Not that any single day's effort will be dramatic or transformative, but that we keep showing up, keep doing what we can, trusting that the cumulative effect of our continued presence matters more than we can know. Scientists who study water erosion have discovered something remarkable. The rate at which water wears away stone depends not primarily on the force of impact, but on the consistency of contact. A powerful flood that rushes through once can do less lasting change than a tiny trickle that flows constantly. The key factor is not intensity, but persistence. This research validates what contemplative traditions have taught for millennia. Sustainable change comes through gentle, consistent practice rather than dramatic, sporadic effort. The meditator who sits for 10 minutes every single day will see more profound transformation than the one who does intensive 10-hour sessions once a month. The writer who writes 1 page daily will complete more work than the one who waits for inspiration to strike and then writes frantically for a weekend. The path of gentle persistence honors our human limitations. It acknowledges that we have finite energy, that we get tired, that we cannot maintain peak performance indefinitely. Instead of seeing these limitations as failures, it works with them. It asks not how much can I accomplish in a burst of inspired energy, but rather what can I do consistently, day after day, even when tired. For Tenzo, this question led to clear answers. He could consistently tend his garden for a few hours each day. He couldn't work all day without pain becoming overwhelming, but he could work in shorter periods with rest between. He couldn't transform the entire monastery grounds into a showcase garden, but he could maintain his small plot with loving attention. These limitations defined not what he couldn't do, but what he could do sustainably. There's a teaching story about this in Zen literature. A student asks his master, "What is the essence of Zen practice?" The master replies, "When walking, just walk. When sitting, just sit. Above all, don't wobble." This sounds simple, but the depth is in that final instruction. Don't wobble. Don't vacillate between extremes. Don't work frantically for a few days and then collapse in exhaustion. Don't practice intensively when motivated and then abandon practice when motivation wanes. Find the sustainable middle path and stay with it.
The natural world is full of this steadiness. The Earth rotates on its axis, creating day and night with remarkable consistency. The seasons cycle through their patterns. Birds migrate according to ancient timetables written into their genes. Seeds germinate when conditions are right, following processes refined over millions of years of evolution. Nature doesn't wobble. It follows reliable rhythms, sustainable patterns, gentle persistence. When we align ourselves with these natural rhythms, when we work with our bodies rather than against them, when we honor our need for rest as much as our capacity for effort, we discover that sustainable practice becomes possible. We can keep trying even when tired because we're not demanding the impossible from ourselves. We're asking only for what is actually available in this moment, which might be very little, and accepting that this very little is enough. The practice of gentle perseverance. Now let us turn to practical understanding. How do we actually practice this gentle perseverance? How do we keep trying when we're tired without falling into the trap of forcing ourselves past the point of sustainability? The first and perhaps most important practice is developing accurate awareness of our actual state. This might sound simple, but in truth, many of us are remarkably disconnected from our bodies and energy levels. We've learned to override our fatigue signals, to push through when tired, to ignore our body's requests for rest. This disconnection allows us to accomplish things in the short term, but leads inevitably to burnout in the long term. Tenzo's practice began each morning with simply sitting and breathing, noticing his state without judgment. This wasn't an elaborate assessment or analysis. It was a simple check-in. How does my body feel right now? What level of energy do I have? Where is there pain or discomfort? Where is there ease? This awareness practice serves several functions. First, it provides accurate information about our current resources. If we don't know how much energy we actually have, we can't pace ourselves appropriately. We might try to do too much and crash, or we might underestimate our capacity and not accomplish what we genuinely could. Second, awareness practice helps us distinguish between different types of fatigue. There's the healthy tiredness that comes after good work, the kind that's satisfied by a night's sleep. There's the deeper exhaustion that indicates we've been overextending ourselves and need a period of reduced activity. And there's the depleted feeling that comes from lack of meaning or purpose, the exhaustion that rest alone won't fix because it's really a hunger for something that matters. Tenzo's garden work addressed this third type of fatigue. Even when his body was tired, his spirit was nourished by the meaningful work. He wasn't just passing time or earning a living. He was participating in life, caring for growing things, contributing to the community's well-being. This sense of purpose sustained him through physical discomfort in a way that meaningless activity never could. Research on purpose and well-being confirms this connection. Studies show that people who report a strong sense of purpose in life experience better physical health, greater resilience to stress, and even longer lifespans than those who lack this sense of meaning. The effect is independent of other factors like wealth, education, or social status. Simply having work that feels meaningful reduces the subjective experience of exhaustion. This doesn't mean we should override genuine fatigue by focusing on meaning. Rather, it means that when we're engaged in work that truly matters to us, we often find we have more energy available than we thought. The tiredness doesn't disappear, but it becomes more bearable because we're tired in service of something we care about. The second key practice is learning to work at the pace we can sustain. This requires letting go of comparisons. Tenzo didn't compare his output to the younger monk's work. He didn't measure himself against who he used to be at 30 or 40. He worked at the pace his present body and energy allowed. This sounds simple, but proves remarkably difficult for many people. We live in a culture of comparison, constantly measuring ourselves against others or against idealized standards. Social media intensifies this, showing us curated highlights of other people's productivity and achievements. It's easy to feel that our own pace is insufficient, that we should be doing more. But sustainable practice requires releasing this comparison. The relevant question is not, am I doing as much as others, but rather, am I doing what I can with the resources I have in a way that allows me to continue? A sprinter and a marathon runner require different pacing. Demanding that the marathon runner sprint the whole distance would be absurd. Yet we often demand the equivalent from ourselves, expecting constant high-intensity output in endeavors that require sustainable long-term effort. Finding our sustainable pace requires experimentation and honest self-assessment. It means trying different approaches and noticing what allows us to continue versus what leads to exhaustion and collapse. For some people, this might mean working in focused bursts with substantial rest between. For others, it might mean a steadier, more moderate, continuous pace. There's no single right answer. The sustainable pace varies between individuals, and even within the same individual at different life stages. Tenzo had discovered that he could work steadily for about 2 hours in the morning, rest for an hour, work for another hour or two in the afternoon, and then be done for the day. This schedule honored his aging body's needs while still allowing him to accomplish the garden's essential maintenance. It wasn't the schedule he would have chosen in his 30s, but it was the schedule that worked now. The third essential practice is cultivating self-compassion. When we're tired and struggling to continue, our inner voice often becomes harsh and critical. Why am I so weak? Everyone else can handle this. What's wrong with me? I should be able to do more. This self-criticism is exhausting in itself. It drains energy that could go towards the actual work we're trying to do. Tenzo had learned to speak to himself with kindness. When fatigue arose, his inner response was something like, "Ah yes, tired again. This old body has worked hard for many years. Let me be gentle with it." This self-compassion didn't mean he stopped working or gave up on his responsibilities. It meant he worked with kindness towards himself, accepting his limitations without judgment. Kristin Neff, a researcher who has extensively studied self-compassion, identifies 3 core components: self-kindness versus self-judgment, common humanity versus isolation, and mindfulness versus over-identification. All 3 are relevant to the practice of continuing when tired. Self-kindness means treating ourselves with the same warmth and understanding we'd offer a good friend. When a friend is struggling with exhausting, we don't typically berate them for being weak. We offer comfort, encourage them to rest if needed, acknowledge that what they're dealing with is difficult.
Extending this same kindness to ourselves transforms the experience of fatigue from shameful inadequacy to understandable human limitation. Common humanity means recognizing that difficulty, suffering, and limitation are part of the shared human experience. Everyone gets tired. Everyone struggles sometimes. Everyone has days when they feel they have nothing left to give. Recognizing this helps counter the isolating belief that everyone else is fine, only I am struggling. This belief is almost always false, yet it can make exhaustion feel like personal failure rather than universal experience. Mindfulness, in Neff's framework, means being aware of our suffering without exaggerating or minimizing it. It's the balance between wallowing in how terrible we feel and denying that we're struggling at all. With mindfulness, we can acknowledge, yes, I'm very tired right now, without adding the catastrophizing story of, I'll never have energy again, or the minimizing dismissal of, I shouldn't feel this way, I should just push through. Tenzo embodied all three of these components. He was kind to himself about his limitations. He recognized that all bodies age and tire. This was simply the human condition, not a personal failing. And he maintained clear awareness of his actual state without drowning in stories about it. The fourth practice is breaking tasks down into manageable increments. When we're tired, the thought of everything that needs doing can be overwhelming. The to-do list stretches endlessly. The gap between current reality and desired outcome seems impossibly large. This overwhelm itself is exhausting. Tenzo never thought about the entire garden or the whole growing season. He thought about the next small task: water this bed, pull these weeds, check on that seedling. Each task was small enough to be accomplishable even with limited energy, and each completion, however modest, was a genuine accomplishment. This approach aligns with what productivity research calls chunking, breaking large projects into smaller subtasks. But for sustainable practice when tired, we need to chunk even more finely than typical productivity advice suggests. Not work on the garden for 2 hours, but water the north bed, then reassess. Not write a chapter, but write for 15 minutes, then take a break. These tiny increments might seem inefficient. Surely it would be better to work for longer stretches. But when we're genuinely depleted, trying to force longer work periods usually backfires. We either can't sustain the effort and give up entirely, or we push through with such strain that we deplete ourselves further and need even more recovery time. The tiny increments, paradoxically, often lead to more total work accomplished because they allow us to continue. 15 minutes of writing daily yields more pages over a month than planning to write for 4 hours on Saturdays but being too exhausted to follow through. 5 minutes of meditation each morning builds a more robust practice than attempting hour-long sits that happen only occasionally. Tenzo's garden work perfectly illustrated this principle. Each small task, watering one bed, weeding one row, tending one area, was manageable. Completing it brought a small sense of satisfaction, and the accumulation of these small completions over time resulted in a well-maintained garden, even though no single day's work was dramatic. The fifth practice is building in rest as a deliberate part of the process, not something we do only when forced to by complete exhaustion. Rest is not the absence of work, it's an active practice in itself, essential to sustainability. Tenzo built rest into his daily rhythm. He worked, then rested, then worked again. He didn't try to push through until he collapsed. He didn't view rest as a reward earned only after completing everything. He understood rest as necessary maintenance, like oiling a tool or sharpening a blade. In mindfulness-based stress reduction programs, one of the key practices is the body scan, a systematic attention to different parts of the body, noticing sensation without trying to change anything. This practice serves multiple functions. It builds awareness of tension and fatigue. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, promoting physical relaxation, and it provides a structured way to rest that doesn't require lying down or stopping work entirely. Tenzo might pause in his work, straighten his back, and take a few breaths while simply noticing the sensations in his body. This micro-rest, lasting perhaps 30 seconds, allowed some recovery without requiring him to leave the garden. Over the course of a work period, these brief pauses accumulated into significant recovery. Modern research on attention and focus supports this approach. Studies show that human attention naturally operates in cycles, with periods of high focus alternating with periods where focus wanes. Trying to maintain constant, intense focus is not only difficult, but actually counterproductive. Brief breaks allow the brain to process information and restore attention for the next focused period.
The seventh practice is staying connected to purpose and meaning. This doesn't mean finding some grand cosmic significance in every mundane task. It means staying in touch with why the work matters, even in small ways. Tenzo's garden work had multiple layers of meaning. Most immediately, it provided food for the monastery. Beyond that, it was his meditation practice, his way of cultivating presence and attention. It connected him to natural cycles and the simple satisfaction of caring for growing things. It contributed beauty to the monastery environment. Each of these meanings was real, and each helped sustain his effort through difficult days. When we lose touch with why something matters, tasks become mere obligations, dead weight we drag through the day. But when we stay connected to purpose, even simple actions can feel worthwhile. The parent exhausted by childcare can remember that these repetitive tasks of feeding, cleaning, comforting are literally growing a human being, shaping a life. The student weary of studying can remember that this knowledge opens doors, builds capacity for future contribution. The worker tired of their job can remember the people they serve or the skills they're developing. This isn't about justifying exploitative situations or talking ourselves into accepting unacceptable conditions. If work is genuinely meaningless or harmful, the solution might be to change the work, not to reframe it. But when we're engaged in worthwhile activity and struggling with fatigue, reconnecting to purpose can help us find energy we didn't know we had. The Forest of Renewal. Let us now walk together into the forest, into the green world that offers its own teachings about rest, renewal, and the cycles of growth and dormancy. The practice of Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, originated in Japan in the 1980s as a form of nature therapy. The idea is simple: spend time in a forest, walking slowly, engaging all your senses, breathing the forest air. No strenuous hiking required, no destination to reach, just mindful presence among trees. Research into forest bathing has revealed remarkable effects. A study conducted by Chiba University found that walking in forest environments led to a 12.4% decrease in cortisol levels, a 7% decrease in sympathetic nervous system activity, and a 1.4% decrease in blood pressure compared to walking in urban environments. Participants also reported significant improvements in mood and reductions in anxiety and depression. Another study, published in Environmental Health and Preventive Medicine, found that forest environments enhanced human natural killer cell activity, boosting the immune system. The effects lasted for more than 30 days after a single 3-day forest visit. The researchers attributed this partly to phytocides, antimicrobial compounds that trees release into the air. When humans breathe these compounds, our immune systems respond positively. These findings validate what people have intuitively known for millennia: time in nature heals. The forest offers something that buildings and screens cannot, a deep organic restoration that goes beyond simple rest. When we're exhausted, depleted, running on empty, the forest can help us refill. Consider what happens when you enter a mature forest. The temperature drops, cooled by the canopy of leaves overhead. The light changes, filtered and softened by foliage. The air smells different too: earth, moss, living wood. Sound changes too. Urban noise fades, replaced by bird calls, wind through branches, perhaps the sound of water moving over stones. Your body responds to these changes even before your conscious mind fully registers them. Your breathing naturally deepens, your pace slows, your shoulders drop away from your ears. The forest environment seems to communicate directly with your nervous system, signaling that this is a place where you can let down your guard, where you don't need to be vigilant against threats, where rest is possible. Trees themselves offer teachings about endurance and patience. A mature oak tree might be several hundred years old, having weathered countless storms, droughts, freezes, and scorching summers. It grows slowly, adding a new ring of growth each year, some years wider than others depending on conditions. The tree doesn't berate itself for narrow rings during drought years or take excessive pride in wide rings during abundant years. It simply grows at whatever pace conditions allow, year after year, decade after decade. This quality of steady growth regardless of conditions mirrors the practice of gentle perseverance. The tree doesn't give up during difficult years, but neither does it strain to grow faster than its resources allow. It works with what is, adding what increment of growth is possible, trusting that small additions over long time create substantial trees. The root systems of trees offer another teaching. What we see above ground, the trunk, branches, leaves, represents only half of the tree. Below ground, the root system extends just as far, though we rarely see it. These roots anchor the tree against storms, yes, but they also connect it to resources and to other trees. Mycorrhizal networks, fungal filaments that connect the root systems of different trees, allow trees to share resources. A tree in a sunny spot with abundant photosynthesis can send sugars through the network to a tree in shade. A tree with access to water can share moisture with one in a dry spot. Trees can even send warning signals through these networks, alerting neighboring trees to insect attacks so they can ramp up their chemical defenses. This underground cooperation creates forest resilience. Individual trees might suffer and struggle, but the network supports them. The strong help the weak, not out of altruism, because the health of each tree affects the health of the whole forest. This reminds us that sustainable practice doesn't mean solitary struggle. We need our own mycorrhizal networks, the connections with others who can offer support when we're depleted, who we can support when they're struggling. The myth of the rugged individual who needs no help, who powers through alone, is just that, a myth. Real resilience comes through connection. Tenzo had his network. The other monks, the abbot who noticed and valued his work, the larger community whose needs gave his labor meaning. He wasn't isolated in his tiredness. When he was particularly depleted, others could help with garden work. When he had energy to spare, he helped others. This reciprocity made sustainable practice possible. Forests also teach us about the necessity and productivity of decay. When a tree falls, it doesn't disappear. It slowly breaks down over years or decades, returning nutrients to the soil, creating habitat for insects and fungi, becoming food for new growth. The dead tree is as important to forest health as the living ones. Decay is not failure, but transformation, a necessary part of the cycle. In our lives, there are times when things fall apart, when projects fail, when relationships end, when our capacities diminish. We tend to view these as purely negative, as failures to be ashamed of. But from the forest's perspective, these endings create the conditions for new beginnings. The nutrients locked up in the old form become available for new growth.
When we're exhausted, sometimes what needs to fall apart are the unsustainable ways we've been operating. The relentless pace, the excessive commitments, the perfectionist standards, the habits that no longer serve us. These might need to die back so that something healthier can grow. This death isn't failure, it's the necessary decay that enriches the soil for what comes next. The forest floor demonstrates this principle beautifully. Layers of fallen leaves, slowly decomposing, create the rich humus that feeds new growth. Every autumn, trees release their leaves, letting go of what served them through the growing season but would burden them through winter. This letting go isn't loss, but wisdom, appropriate adaptation to changing conditions. We too might need to let go of what we've carried, responsibilities that made sense at one time but now exhaust us, identities we've outgrown, habits that once helped but now hinder. The practice of gentle perseverance includes discernment about what to continue and what to release. Different forest environments offer different qualities of restoration. Deciduous forests show the drama of seasons, the bare bones of winter, the explosive green of spring, the full abundance of summer, the brilliant decay of autumn. Walking through these forests, we're reminded that change is constant, that no condition is permanent. The exhaustion we feel now will shift, just as winter gives way to spring. Coniferous forests, with their evergreen needles, offer a different teaching. The same trees stand through all seasons, maintaining their green even through snow and ice. They teach endurance, yes, but not rigid, unchanging endurance. Look closely, and you'll see that even evergreens are constantly changing, old needles falling, new ones emerging, branches growing and dying back. The appearance of changelessness conceals constant, subtle transformation. Similarly, the core of who we are can remain steady even as circumstances change. Tenzo's essential self, the person who cared deeply about the work, who brought presence and attention to his tasks, that remained constant even as his physical capacities changed with age. The outer form of his practice adapted, but the inner quality endured. Old-growth forests, where trees have stood for centuries and the ecosystem has achieved complex interdependence, demonstrate the power of time. You cannot create an old-growth forest quickly. There are no shortcuts to the depth of soil, the diversity of species, the intricate relationships that characterize these ancient woods. They exist only because they've been allowed to continue year after year, century after century. This is the fruit of gentle perseverance writ large, not dramatic transformation achieved through force, but profound depth and richness that can only come through time. Tenzo's garden, tended daily for decades, had a quality that newer gardens lacked, not because he was particularly skilled or because he worked harder than others, but simply because he'd been showing up gently and consistently for so very long. Walking in an old-growth forest, we feel something beyond what any individual sense perceives, a quality of ancientness, of deep peace, of time moving at a different pace. This quality cannot be manufactured or faked. It can only be received as a gift from decades or centuries of undisturbed growth. Our own practice, if we can sustain it gently over years, develops similar depth. The meditation practice of 20 years is qualitatively different from the practice of 2 months, not because the technique changes, but because long, steady practice creates deep grooves, establishes firm roots, develops a quality of settledness that can't be rushed. The forest also teaches about recovery from damage. Walk through areas that experienced fire or clear-cutting, and you'll see different stages of regrowth. First come the pioneer species, fast-growing plants that can tolerate harsh conditions. They prepare the ground for others, adding nutrients, providing shade, creating microclimates where more delicate species can establish. Gradually, over decades, the forest recovers, not to its exact previous state, but to a new, mature forest, different in particulars, but similar in function. This progression offers hope to anyone recovering from burnout or trauma. The devastation is real, the loss is genuine, but recovery is possible, even if what emerges is different from what was lost. The first steps might be small, simple, hardly resembling the mature practice that will eventually develop. That's fine. The pioneer species of recovery, tiny acts of self-care, moments of rest, small returns to practices we've abandoned, these prepare the ground for more robust restoration later. The practice of forest bathing doesn't require access to wilderness. Even a small urban park with trees can offer some benefits. The key is the quality of attention we bring, slow walking, engaged senses, present moment awareness rather than goal-oriented hiking. When we're exhausted, a walk in the woods can do what forced rest indoors cannot.
There's something about moving through green space, about our animal bodies being in the living world, that accesses restoration at deep levels. The parasympathetic nervous system engages, cortisol drops, the mind, usually busy with plans and worries, settles into simple sensory presence. But what if you don't have access to a forest? What if you live far from woods and can't travel? The principles still apply. Any contact with nature, tending a houseplant, watching clouds move across the sky, feeling rain on your face, observing a bird, noticing how light changes through the day, can provide a moment of connection to something larger than our immediate concerns. Tenzo's garden, though cultivated and controlled, still connected him to natural processes. He witnessed the miracle of seeds germinating, plants growing, seasons cycling. This connection sustained him. Even in difficulty, he was participating in life's abundance, in the generous fertility of earth meeting sun, meeting water.
But what happens when we consistently shortchange this process? When we sleep too little, night after night, week after week? The adenosine isn't fully clear. The pressure keeps building. We might override it with caffeine, which blocks adenosine receptors, creating a temporary illusion of alertness. But the underlying debt remains and grows. Research shows that sleep deprivation leads to increased slow wave activity during recovery sleep, indicating the brain's attempt to compensate for lost rest. The body knows what it needs and will take it when given the chance, often demanding more than was lost as interest on the debt. Tenzo understood this on an intuitive level, though he might not have known the scientific mechanisms. When his body signaled deep fatigue, when the tiredness went beyond the normal end-of-day weariness, he listened. He didn't pride himself on powering through. He didn't wear exhaustion as a badge of honor. He rested. This willingness to rest when truly needed distinguishes sustainable practice from the kind of pushing that eventually breaks us. Many people fear that if they give in to tiredness, they'll never accomplish anything. They believe they must maintain constant pressure on themselves, or they'll slip into laziness and inertia. But Tenzo's experience, and the experience of many practitioners who sustain their work over decades, shows something different. When we honor genuine fatigue with rest, we actually increase our capacity for sustained effort over time. We work with our body's natural rhythms rather than fighting against them. The challenge lies in discerning between different types of tiredness. There's the healthy fatigue that comes after good work, the satisfied exhaustion that sleeps well and wakes restored. There's the depleting exhaustion that indicates we've pushed too hard for too long and need an extended recovery period. And there's the low energy feeling that comes not from too much activity, but from lack of meaning, engagement, or movement, the kind of tiredness that rest alone won't fix. How do we tell the difference? The healthy fatigue of honest work has a quality of completion to it. The day's tasks are done, the body is pleasantly tired, sleep comes easily. This tiredness doesn't carry anxiety or dread. It doesn't wake us at 3 in the morning with a pounding heart. It rests and releases. The depleting exhaustion of overextension feels different. Sleep doesn't fully refresh. We wake still tired, drag through days, feel that nothing we do is enough. There's often a quality of joylessness to this exhaustion, a loss of pleasure in activities that usually nourish us. Our frustration tolerance drops. Small difficulties feel overwhelming. We might notice ourselves getting sick more often as the immune system weakens under chronic stress. The tiredness of meaninglessness or lack of engagement has yet another quality. We might have adequate rest, not be physically exhausted, yet feel we have no energy for anything. Nothing sounds interesting or worthwhile. This is often depression or burnout manifesting, and it requires a different response than simply sleeping more. It needs reconnection to purpose, to community, to activities that genuinely matter to us.
Tenzo had felt all three of these states over his decades at the monastery. The good tiredness after a full day in the garden, when he'd sleep deeply and wake ready for morning meditation. The depleting exhaustion when he'd pushed too hard, working through injury or illness, and needed to deliberately reduce his hours and intensity for weeks to recover. And yes, occasionally, the existential fatigue of wondering if his work mattered, if his life was well spent. Times when no amount of physical rest helped, because what he needed was renewed connection to meaning. Circadian rhythms are controlled by a master clock in the brain that responds to light, coordinating physiological processes throughout the body. These rhythms influence not just when we sleep, but also body temperature, hormone release, metabolism, and numerous other functions. When we consistently work against our circadian rhythms, staying awake when our body is programmed for sleep, trying to be productive during our natural low-energy periods, we create a state of internal dysynchronization that manifests as fatigue, irritability, and health problems. Some people are naturally early risers, their circadian rhythm priming them for productivity in the morning hours. Others are night owls, hitting their stride in the evening. These preferences, called chronotypes, have a strong genetic component. Expecting a night owl to be maximally productive at 6 in the morning is like expecting a flower that blooms at dusk to open in full sunlight. It might be possible to force it temporarily, but it's working against the organism's fundamental nature. Tenzo had the good fortune to live in an environment where the schedule, though early, was consistent and reasonably aligned with natural day-night cycles. The monastery rose before dawn, worked during daylight, and rested after dark. This alignment with natural light-dark patterns supported his circadian health in a way that modern shift work or irregular schedules often disrupt. When considering whether to rest or continue, Tenzo would ask himself a simple question: can I do this task with presence and care in my current state, or am I just going through the motions, creating more problems than I'm solving? If the latter, then rest wasn't laziness, it was wisdom. This discernment requires honesty with ourselves, which isn't always easy. We're skilled at self-deception, at convincing ourselves we're fine when we're not, or conversely, that we can't possibly work. Actually, we're just avoiding difficulty. Building accurate self-awareness is a practice in itself. One useful indicator is our emotional state. When well-rested, we typically meet challenges with a quality of interest or engagement, even if they're difficult. When depleted, we meet challenges with dread, resentment, or anxiety. Our capacity for perspective, humor, and flexibility all diminish when exhausted. We become rigid, reactive, more likely to make poor decisions or damage relationships. Tenzo noticed these signs in himself. When he found himself feeling irritated by the smallest inconveniences, a tool misplaced, a plant growing crooked, a stone out of alignment in the path, he recognized these reactions as symptoms of depletion rather than actual problems requiring his irritation. This awareness allowed him to step back, rest, and return when he could respond rather than react. The body also signals need for rest through physical symptoms. Persistent muscle tension, headaches, digestive disturbances, increased susceptibility to minor illnesses, disrupted sleep patterns, changes in appetite. All these can indicate that stress and exhaustion have accumulated beyond what the system can manage while continuing at the current pace.
Modern research into the physiology of stress helps explain these symptoms. When we're under sustained stress, the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis remains activated, flooding the body with cortisol and other stress hormones. This state, designed for short-term emergencies, becomes harmful when chronic. Immune function drops, inflammation increases, blood pressure rises, and the body's repair process is slow.
Rest isn't merely the absence of work. It's an active physiological state where the parasympathetic nervous system dominates, allowing repair and restoration. During deep sleep, growth hormone is released, promoting tissue repair and muscle recovery. The immune system ramps up production of cytokines that fight infection. The brain clears metabolic waste products that accumulated during waking hours. Memory consolidation occurs, integrating the day's experiences. All of this requires actual rest, not just sitting on the couch scrolling through social media while our minds remain activated by constant stimulation. True rest involves a quality of letting go, of allowing the body and mind to genuinely settle. For Tenzo, rest took various forms. Sometimes it was sleep, the deep, unconscious restoration that nothing else can replace. Sometimes it was sitting meditation, the alert restfulness of present moment awareness without the need to do anything. Sometimes it was simply sitting by his garden in the evening, watching the light change, requiring nothing of himself. He also found rest in routine, in the familiar rhythms of monastery life. The predictability of the schedule, the repetition of daily practices, the lack of constant novel demands, these created a kind of mental rest even while engaged in activity. He didn't need to make endless decisions about what to do next or how to spend his time. The structure held him, allowing a kind of relaxation within form. This is different from modern life's constant barrage of choices and stimulation. We wake to alarm clocks disrupting our natural sleep cycles, immediately check phones full of messages and news, navigate complex social dynamics, make countless decisions throughout the day, remain connected and available through technology. The cognitive load is immense, and we rarely fully disconnect. Tenzo's life was simpler in structure, though not necessarily easier in substance. The work was physically demanding, the living conditions austere, the social constraints significant. But within these bounds, there was a quality of mental ease that came from knowing his role, following established patterns, and being part of a community with shared values and practices. When the body says, "rest," it's offering wisdom worth heeding. The challenge is creating lives that allow us to honor this wisdom, to actually rest when rest is needed, rather than pushing through with stimulants and willpower until we crash. This might require difficult changes, reducing commitments, setting boundaries, saying no to opportunities that would overextend us, accepting that we cannot do everything we might wish to do. These choices feel like loss in the moment, but create the conditions for sustainability over time. The monk's night vigil. Let us return now to Tenzo's story, to a particular night that taught him something essential about staying present with exhaustion rather than either collapsing into it or fighting against it. It was late autumn. The harvest work was mostly complete, the garden beds prepared for winter. But one of the older monks, a teacher who had been kind to Tenzo when he first arrived at the monastery decades ago, was dying. The community was keeping vigil, taking turns sitting with him through his final days and nights. Tenzo had been assigned the watch from midnight to dawn. He was already tired, having worked a full day in cold rain that had left him chilled and achy. His 60-year-old body wanted nothing more than his sleeping mat and quilts. But when the bell rang for midnight, he rose, wrapped himself in his warmest robe, and made his way through dark corridors to the sick room. The dying monk lay on his futon, breathing shallow and irregular. A single oil lamp cast gentle light. Another monk, finishing the previous watch, bowed to Tenzo and quietly left. Tenzo settled himself on the cushion beside the bed and prepared to sit until dawn. The first hour wasn't too difficult. He was still somewhat alert from the walk through the cold air, and the responsibility felt clear and important. He sat upright, monitoring his friend's breathing, occasionally moistening his lips with water or adjusting his blankets. But by the second hour, exhaustion was pressing on Tenzo like a physical weight. His eyes kept closing despite his efforts to keep them open. His head would nod forward, jerking him back to awareness. The warmth of the room after the cold outside, the late hour, the accumulated tiredness of the day, all conspired to pull him toward sleep. He tried various strategies to stay awake. He sat more erect, hoping the physical discomfort would keep him alert. He focused on his breathing, counting each cycle. He stood and did walking meditation around the small room, but always the overwhelming urge to sleep returned. Then a different thought arose. What if, instead of fighting the tiredness, he simply sat with it? Not giving in to sleep, but not warring against it either. Just being present with the experience of being exhausted while needing to stay awake. He settled back onto his cushion and softened his resistance. Yes, he was tired, profoundly tired. His whole body ached for rest. These were simply the facts of this moment. And also true, he had chosen to be here, to keep this vigil, to offer his presence to a dying friend. That commitment mattered more than his comfort. With this acceptance, something shifted. The exhaustion was still there, but his relationship to it changed. He wasn't fighting it or collapsing into it. He was simply being with it, holding both the tiredness and the commitment to stay present. The hours passed slowly. Dawn seemed impossibly far away, but Tenzo discovered he could be present for one moment at a time, even when that moment contained deep fatigue. He listened to his friend's labored breathing. He watched the lamp flame flicker. He felt the hardness of the floor beneath him and the weight of his tired body. He stayed. Around 3 in the morning, the darkest hour, his friend's breathing changed. It became slower, more irregular. Tenzo moved closer, taking the old monk's hand. The dying monk's eyes flickered open briefly, seemed to register Tenzo's presence, and closed again. His breathing continued to slow. Tenzo sat holding that hand, his own tiredness completely forgotten now in the presence of this profound moment. His friend was crossing a threshold, moving from life toward death, and Tenzo was honored to witness this, to keep vigil at this sacred transition. Just before dawn, as the first gray light began to dilute the darkness, his friend took a final breath, held it for a long moment, and released it. The exhale seemed to go on forever, carrying with it the last of his life force. Then silence, stillness. The lamp flame burned on, but the presence that animated this body was gone.
Tenzo sat with the body for another hour until the morning bell rang and other monks came to begin the funeral preparations. When he finally stood, his legs were stiff, his back screaming with pain. He had been sitting almost completely still for 6 hours. But walking back to his room in the early morning light, Tenzo felt something other than the exhaustion he'd expected. There was tiredness, yes, his body desperately needed rest, but there was also a quality of fulfillment, of having been present for something that mattered, of having stayed when staying was hard. He slept deeply that morning, excused from his garden duties. When he woke in the afternoon, the memory of the night vigil remained with him. He had learned something important, that we can be tired and still present, exhausted and still committed, depleted and still capable of showing up for what truly matters. This wasn't about heroic effort or forcing himself past reasonable limits. It was about the difference between chronic pushing that depletes us and occasional stretching that expands our capacity. The vigil was one night, with rest to follow. It wasn't a sustainable daily practice, but it showed him that when something genuinely important called, he could find resources he didn't know he had. The key was in the relationship to the difficulty. When he fought against the tiredness, resenting it and struggling to overcome it, he exhausted himself further with the internal conflict.
When he accepted it while staying committed to his purpose, the energy that would have gone into resistance became available for presence. This teaching served him for the rest of his life. There would be other difficult vigils, other times when what was asked exceeded what felt possible. Illness, deep grief, times of community crisis, periods when his own aging body made every task an effort. In these times, he remembered that night and the discovery that we can stay with difficulty without being destroyed by it, that presence is possible even in depletion, that gentle continuation is an option even when ease is not. Burnout and the path back. Burnout is not mere tiredness, it's a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. While anyone can experience temporary fatigue, burnout represents a more serious condition where the depletion becomes chronic and the person loses their capacity to function effectively. The term burnout was first defined by psychologist Herbert Freudenberger in 1974, based on his observations of volunteers at a free clinic. He noticed that many of these dedicated, idealistic workers became emotionally depleted over time, losing their initial enthusiasm and becoming cynical and exhausted. Since then, research has identified burnout as a significant problem across many professions, particularly those involving care for others. Christina Maslach, who developed the widely used Maslach Burnout Inventory, identified 3 core dimensions of burnout: emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and reduced personal accomplishment. Emotional exhaustion involves feeling drained and depleted of emotional resources. Depersonalization involves developing cynical attitudes and emotional distance from one's work and from the people one serves. Reduced personal accomplishment involves feeling ineffective and losing the sense that one's work makes a meaningful difference. These 3 dimensions feed into each other in a downward spiral. As we become emotionally exhausted, we protect ourselves by becoming more distant and cynical. This distancing prevents us from experiencing the rewards and meaning that work provides. Without those rewards, we feel less accomplished, which further drains our motivation and energy. What causes burnout? Research points to several key factors: chronic workload that exceeds our capacity to manage it, lack of control over our work circumstances, insufficient reward, whether financial, social, or intrinsic, breakdown in community and supportive relationships, absence of fairness in how we're treated, values conflict between what we're asked to do and what we believe is right. Tenzo might have experienced burnout if circumstances had been different, if the monastery demanded constant increased production from the garden, if he'd felt no autonomy in how he did his work, if his efforts had gone unrecognized and unappreciated, if he'd been isolated rather than part of a supportive community, if he'd been forced to work in ways that contradicted his values. But the monastery structure, while demanding, also provided protective factors. His work had clear meaning, feeding the community. He had substantial autonomy in how he managed the garden. His efforts were seen and valued, if quietly. He was embedded in a supportive community, and his work aligned with his deepest values of service, mindfulness, and connection to nature. Still, he had moments of approaching burnout, particularly in his middle years when the physical demands of the work began to exceed his aging body's capacity, but before he'd fully learned to adjust his pace. He remembers a spring when he pushed himself too hard, trying to accomplish planting goals better suited to a younger person. By early summer, he was exhausted, resentful, losing his sense of why any of it mattered. The abbot noticed. He called Tenzo in for tea one afternoon and asked simple questions. How are you doing? How is your practice? How is your heart? At first, Tenzo gave the answers he thought he should give. Everything is fine. The garden is progressing well. No problems. But the abbot's patient silence invited truth, and slowly Tenzo found himself admitting, I'm tired. I'm so tired. I don't know if I can keep doing this. I feel like I'm failing because I can't work like I used to. I wonder if I should leave the garden to someone younger." The abbot listened without judgment. Then he said, "You're attached to an image of yourself as someone with limitless capacity. This image was never true, but when you were young, your capacity was great enough that the gap between image and reality didn't cause suffering. Now you're older, your body has real limits, and the gap has become painful. But the limits aren't the problem. Your attachment to the image is." "What should I do?" Tenzo asked. "Stop trying to be who you were at 30. Be fully and completely who you are at 50. Work with the body and energy you have now, not the ones you remember having. This requires letting go of your ideas about what you should be able to do and accepting what you can actually do." This conversation marked a turning point. Tenzo began the difficult work of accepting his limitations, not as failures, but simply as reality. He reduced his workload, delegated some tasks to younger monks, adjusted his techniques to accommodate his back pain and reduced stamina. He stopped comparing himself to his younger self and instead met each day with curiosity about what was possible now. The process wasn't smooth or quick. It took time to release old identities and patterns. He had to grieve who he'd been, the capacities he'd lost. But on the other side of that grief was a different kind of freedom, a freedom from the tyranny of idealized self.
Of freedom. The freedom of being exactly who he was, exactly where he was, without the burden of trying to be someone or something else. This is often the path back from burnout, accepting reality as it is rather than as we wish it were, releasing attachments to how things should be, finding what's actually sustainable rather than pushing for what we think we ought to be able to manage, creating boundaries that protect our well-being, reconnecting to meaning and purpose, rebuilding supportive relationships. Mindfulness-based interventions have proven effective for treating burnout. A meta-analysis of mindfulness programs for healthcare professionals found significant reductions in burnout symptoms. These programs teach skills that address the core problems underlying burnout: how to be present with difficult experiences without being overwhelmed, how to regulate our emotional responses, how to maintain perspective and connection to meaning even during challenges. One key mindfulness skill is the ability to notice and name our experience without immediately reacting to it. When we feel the rising tide of overwhelm, can we simply note, "Overwhelm is here," rather than getting swept away by it? When exhaustion arrives, can we acknowledge it, "Very tired right now," without the added suffering of judgment and resistance? Another crucial skill is self-compassion, which we discussed earlier. Burnout often involves harsh self-criticism, berating ourselves for not being able to handle what we think we should handle, for being weak or inadequate. Self-compassion offers an alternative, recognizing that struggle is part of human experience, treating ourselves with kindness and maintaining balanced awareness that neither minimizes nor exaggerates our difficulties. Physical practices also help with burnout recovery. Gentle movement like walking, yoga, or Tai Chi can help discharge stress hormones and reestablish connection with our bodies. Time in nature provides restoration. Adequate sleep becomes non-negotiable. Nutrition matters. When burned out, we often resort to quick energy from sugar and caffeine, which ultimately depletes us further. But perhaps most important is examining and often changing the conditions that led to burnout. If the fundamental problem is chronic overwork, no amount of self-care will solve it unless the workload itself changes. If the issue is values conflict, we need to address that conflict, either by changing our circumstances or finding ways to align our work with our values. If isolation is the problem, we need to rebuild connection and community.
Recovery from burnout is possible, but it requires patience. The depletion happened gradually over months or years. Restoration won't happen overnight. There's a temptation to push for quick recovery, to return to full capacity as soon as possible, but this often backfires, leading to relapse. True recovery happens slowly, with gentle rebuilding of capacity, careful attention to early warning signs of recurrence, and willingness to maintain the changes that support well-being even after we feel better. Tenzo's recovery from his near burnout took more than a year. Gradually, his energy returned, his sense of meaning rekindled, his capacity for presence in his work restored. But he was different afterward, more honest about his limits, quicker to rest when needed, less driven by internal demands for perfection or external comparisons to others. The garden in winter. Winter came to the monastery with the first snow in early December. The garden, so green and abundant through summer and autumn, transformed into a study in grays and whites and browns. The vegetable beds lay empty, covered with mulch and compost to enrich the soil through the cold months. The paths, usually clearly defined, softened under accumulating snow. The only greenery came from a few hardy evergreen herbs near the kitchen door. For some gardeners, winter is a time of loss, when the growing season ends and the land lies dormant and seemingly dead. But Tenzo had learned to see winter differently, not as the death of the garden, but its necessary rest, the fallow time that makes future growth possible. In winter, the garden didn't demand constant attention. There was no planting, no weeding, no harvesting. Occasional visits to check on cold frames and hardy crops, to protect tender perennials if the cold became extreme, to clear paths after heavy snow. This was the extent of the work. For someone who had labored in the garden nearly every day for decades, this reduction could have felt like loss of purpose. Instead, he welcomed it as the garden's gift of rest. He spent more time in meditation during winter months, longer periods in the meditation hall, more hours in study and contemplation. His body welcomed the reduced physical demands. His back, which ached through the active growing season despite his careful pacing, had time to truly recover. His hands, roughened and sometimes blistered from garden work, softened and healed. But winter also brought its own challenges. The monastery was cold, heated only by small charcoal braziers that provided minimal warmth. Rising for pre-dawn meditation meant leaving the relative warmth of quilts to sit in a hall where breath frosted in the air. The cold made his joints ache in new ways. Moving felt harder when the body was trying to conserve warmth. Yet this too was practice, being present with cold, with the body's response to it, with the desire for warmth and comfort. Tenzo noticed how the mind creates additional suffering around discomfort. This is terrible. This is unbearable. When will spring come? I hate winter. The cold itself was simply cold, a certain temperature, sensations in the body. The suffering came from the stories about it. When he stopped fighting the cold and simply experienced it, something interesting happened. The temperature didn't change, but his relationship to it did. Yes, it was cold. Yes, his body reacted by tensing and shivering, but underneath the reactive layer was something else, a kind of clarity that comes with winter, a simplification, a stripping away of excess. In the garden, winter revealed the bones of the landscape. With leaves fallen and growth stopped, he could see the structure of the space in ways obscured during the abundance of summer. He noticed problems with drainage that summer's lush growth had hidden. He saw where paths needed realignment, where stones had shifted, where infrastructure needed repair. Winter's clarity showed him what needed attention come spring. Similarly, winter in his practice, times of reduced external activity, allowed him to see more clearly the structure of his own mind and heart. When he wasn't busy with constant doing, what arose? What patterns of thought repeated? What emotions lived underneath the surface activity? What fears? What hopes? What unresolved questions? This kind of inner winter, the necessary dormancy where we're not producing or achieving, but simply being, can feel uncomfortable in a culture that values constant productivity. The pressure to always be growing, always learning, always improving can make rest feel like failure. But plants teach us differently. A tree doesn't fail when it drops its leaves and stands bare through winter. It's following wisdom written into its nature, conserving energy during a time when conditions don't support growth, preparing for the burst of life that will come with spring's return.
Some plants actually require winter's cold to germinate or bloom. Tulip bulbs need a period of cold dormancy before they can flower. Apple trees need winter chill to produce fruit. Without winter, without dormancy, these plants cannot complete their life cycles. The rest isn't optional, it's essential. Our own creativity and growth often follows similar patterns. Times of active production need to alternate with times of rest and integration. The writer filling notebooks with daily pages also needs times of lying fallow, letting the well refill. The artist producing work needs periods of simply looking, absorbing, allowing unconscious processes to work. We tend to be suspicious of these fallow times, uncomfortable with the uncertainty of not producing. We feel guilty for not being more productive. But forcing constant growth leads to shallow work, to exhaustion of the source, to burnout. Tenzo used winter for rest, yes, but also for a different kind of work, the inner work of reflection, study, and deepening practice. He read texts he didn't have time for during the growing season. He sat longer in meditation, going deeper into silence. He had conversations with other monks that ranged into territory they rarely had time to explore when busy with seasonal work. This alternation between outer work and inner work, between active and receptive modes, between doing and being, created a sustainable rhythm across the years. Like breathing in and breathing out, like the ocean's tides, like day following night, the rhythm carried him forward. Compassion for the tired self. Perhaps the hardest thing about being tired and still trying is the voice in our head that judges us for our fatigue, that compares us to others who seem to manage better, that tells us we're weak or inadequate for needing rest. This inner critic is often louder and harsher than any external voice. We might offer compassion readily to a friend who's struggling with exhaustion, yet show no mercy to ourselves in the same situation. We might recognize that others need rest, that they're doing their best, that their tiredness is understandable given their circumstances, yet hold ourselves to perpetual strength and capability. Where does this harsh inner voice come from? Often, it's an internalized version of messages we received growing up, that our worth depends on our productivity, that rest is lazy, that needing help is weak, that we must earn love through achievement. Even when our conscious mind knows these messages are false, they can still operate at deeper levels, driving us to push harder than is sustainable and then punishing us for failing to be superhuman. Tenzo recognized this voice in himself. Despite decades of practice, despite all he'd learned about gentle perseverance and working sustainably, there were still times when his mind generated harsh judgments about his limitations. You used to be able to work all day without stopping. What happened to you? You're getting old and useless. Maybe you should just give up the garden entirely. The difference was that he learned not to believe these thoughts simply because they appeared in his mind. He could notice them. Harsh self-judgment is arising, without taking them as truth. He could investigate them. Is it actually true that I'm useless? What evidence supports this thought? What evidence contradicts it? Usually, when examined, these thoughts fell apart. They were based on unrealistic standards, false comparisons, or distorted perceptions. The reality was more nuanced.
Yes, his capacity had diminished with age, but he still contributed meaningfully to the community. Yes, he needed more rest than he once did, but this was simply how aging bodies work, not a personal failing. Self-compassion practice offered an alternative to the harsh inner voice. When he noticed exhaustion arising, instead of judgment, "You're so weak," he could offer kindness. "This is hard, you're doing your best." Instead of comparison, "Others can do more," he could acknowledge common humanity. Everyone gets tired, everyone struggles. Instead of exaggeration or minimization, he could maintain balanced awareness. "Yes, I'm genuinely depleted right now, and this is temporary." Research by Kristen Neff and others has shown that self-compassion is associated with greater psychological well-being, less anxiety and depression, more motivation, and better ability to cope with difficulty. Contrary to the fear that self-compassion will make us soft or unmotivated, it actually seems to support resilience and sustainable effort. The practice is simple to describe, but often challenging to implement. When you notice suffering, physical pain, emotional distress, exhaustion, failure, any form of difficulty, pause and acknowledge it. "This hurts. This is difficult. I'm struggling right now." Then offer yourself kindness. You might place a hand on your heart or give yourself a gentle hug. You might speak kindly to yourself using words you'd offer a dear friend. "May I be kind to myself in this moment. May I accept myself as I am. May I give myself the compassion I need." Finally, remember that you're not alone in this experience. Millions of other people are feeling exhausted right now. Countless others have felt exactly what you feel. This is part of being human, not evidence of personal inadequacy. For Tenzo, the physical gesture of kindness was often placing his hand on his lower back, the part of his body that held the most chronic pain from decades of garden work. This gentle touch, combined with silent words of acknowledgement and care, created a moment of self-compassion that shifted how he related to the discomfort. He might say internally, "Yes, this hurts. This old back has carried me faithfully for 60 years, and it's tired now. Thank you, back, for all you've done. I'm sorry for the times I pushed you too hard. May I learn to care for you more gently." This wasn't magical thinking that made the pain disappear. The pain still hurt, but the relationship to the pain changed. Instead of resentment and resistance, "I shouldn't hurt, this is awful, why can't I just be comfortable?" there was acceptance and even gratitude. The pain was the body's honest communication about its limits. Listening to it with compassion was wiser than either ignoring it or hating it. Self-compassion also helped with the emotional dimensions of exhaustion. When he felt depleted and couldn't muster enthusiasm for work that usually engaged him, instead of judging himself as unmotivated or lazy, he could recognize, "This is burnout. This is what happens when someone has been showing up consistently for decades without enough rest. Of course the energy is low. What would be kind to myself right now?"
The practice of self-compassion doesn't eliminate difficulty, but it does reduce the additional suffering we create through harsh judgment of our struggles. It creates an internal environment of support rather than criticism, which makes it easier to actually address problems rather than just berating ourselves for having them. The morning light returns. There is a quality to pre-dawn light that Tenzo particularly loved. Not yet the full brightness of day, but no longer the deep darkness of night. A gradual illumination, soft and tentative, as if the sun is approaching on tiptoe, not wanting to disturb the sleeping world too abruptly. In this light, the garden looked different than it did at any other time. Colors were muted, details softened. Everything held a quality of quiet potential, the day not yet determined, possibilities still open. It was in this light that Tenzo often began his work, moving slowly through the paths, seeing what the night had brought, dew on spiderwebs, new shoots emerging, sometimes a visiting deer's hoofprints in soft earth.
This liminal time between darkness and day reminded him of the liminal state between exhaustion and renewal. There are periods in life when we're neither fully depleted nor fully restored, when we're in the process of returning to ourselves after a time of difficulty. These are delicate times requiring patience and gentle attention. After his near burnout experience, Tenzo had such a period. The acute exhaustion gradually lifted, but he wasn't back to his former energy level. He was in the in-between, the gradual return. Mornings like this taught him how to navigate such transitions, not rushing toward the full light of day, but honoring the quiet emergence, allowing the natural pace of growing brightness. One morning, about 8 months into his recovery, he noticed something had shifted. He was watering the early spring seedlings, a simple task he'd done 10,000 times, and he realized he was enjoying it, not just tolerating it or going through the motions, but actually experiencing pleasure in the cool water flowing from the bucket, the way seedlings perked up after drinking, the smell of damp earth, the feeling of caring for small, vulnerable plants. This simple enjoyment had been absent during his burnout. He'd been working from duty and habit, mechanically completing tasks without real engagement or satisfaction. The return of pleasure, small as it was, marked real healing. He hadn't even realized how much he'd missed it until it came back. Recovery often happens this way, not in dramatic transformations, but in small moments of noticing that something difficult has become slightly easier, that what was joyless has small sparks of satisfaction again, that energy is incrementally returning. These moments are easy to miss if we're looking for complete restoration all at once, but they're important to notice and acknowledge. Ah, yes, something is shifting, healing is happening. The morning light gradually strengthens. What began as barely perceptible illumination becomes steady sunrise. The transition is so gradual you can't point to the exact moment when dawn became day. But if you stay with it, paying attention through the whole process, you witness the complete transformation from darkness to light. Our own recoveries and renewals often follow this pattern. We can't point to the exact moment we stopped being burned out, the specific day we regained our capacity for joy, the precise instant when our energy returned. But looking back, we can see that transformation happened, slowly, gently, naturally, like dawn arriving. What helped Tenzo through this transition was patience. He didn't demand instant, complete recovery. He welcomed small signs of improvement without needing them to mean he was fully healed. A morning when he woke with slightly more energy, a task that felt less burdensome than it had the week before, a moment of genuine laughter at something simple. These were all markers on the path, evidence that the darkness was indeed lightening, even if full day had not yet arrived. He also learned to protect his recovery. Just as seedlings need protection from harsh weather while they're establishing, his recovering energy needed protection from demands that would overwhelm it. This meant continuing to maintain boundaries he'd established during the acute phase of exhaustion, even after he started feeling better. There's a common pattern where people begin to recover from burnout and immediately return to all the behaviors and commitments that led to burnout in the first place. They think, "I'm feeling better now, I can handle more," and quickly overload themselves again. This leads to cycles of crash and recovery that prevent true sustainable restoration. Tenzo avoided this trap by remaining attentive to his actual state rather than his ideas about what he should be capable of. Yes, he had more energy during his worst exhaustion, but did he have enough energy to sustainably resume his former pace? Not yet. Could he gradually increase his activity level? Yes, carefully, while continuing to monitor for signs of depletion. This gradual, measured approach to re-engagement is what allows recovery to stabilize. We build capacity slowly, testing our limits without constantly exceeding them. We maintain protective practices even after acute symptoms have eased. We remember that healing is not linear. There will be good days and harder days, and the harder days don't necessarily mean we're back at the beginning. The morning light returns always. After the longest, darkest night, dawn arrives. This is one of nature's most reliable promises. We can trust this pattern, even when we're in the darkness and can't see any hint of coming light. The turn toward day is happening even when we can't perceive it yet. Our role is simply to stay present, to keep breathing, to wait with as much patience and kindness towards ourselves as we can manage. The light will return. It always does. Practices for gentle continuation. Now let us turn to the practical question. How do we actually implement this understanding? What specific practices support gentle continuation when we're tired? Here are several approaches drawn from both traditional contemplative wisdom and modern mindfulness-based interventions. Breathing practices for the weary. The breath is always available as an anchor, a resource, a place to return when everything else feels overwhelming. When we're exhausted, complex meditation practices may feel impossible, but we can always find our breath. The simplest practice is just this. Notice that you're breathing. Right now, as you listen to these words, there's breath moving in and out of your body. You don't have to do anything about it. You don't have to breathe in any special way. Just notice. Breathing is happening. This noticing, simple as it sounds, creates a moment of presence, a brief rest from the stream of worries and plans and judgments. If you'd like slightly more structure, you might try counting breaths. Breathe in, count 1. Breathe out, count 2. Breathe in, count 3. Breathe out, count 4. Continue up to 10, then start again.
At 1. When you lose count, and you will, this is normal, simply start again from 1. The counting gives the mind something to do, a simple task that occupies it without creating more stress. Research shows that focused attention on breathing can reduce anxiety and stress remarkably quickly. A study of mindfulness breathing meditation among university students found significant reductions in depression, anxiety, and stress after just 4 weeks of daily 15-minute practice. The mechanism involves shifting our nervous system from sympathetic activation to parasympathetic relaxation. Another effective technique is called physiological sighing, or cyclic sighing. This involves taking a deep breath in through your nose until your lungs feel full, then taking a second, smaller sip of air in to maximally inflate the lungs. Then exhale slowly and completely through your mouth. Research published in Cell Reports Medicine found that just 5 minutes of this practice daily improved mood and reduced anxiety more effectively than equivalent time in mindfulness meditation. The exhale is particularly important for calming. Longer exhales than inhales activate the parasympathetic nervous system. You might try breathing in for a count of 3 and out for a count of 6. This extended exhale signals safety to your body, helping shift from stressed vigilance to calm alertness. When Tenzo felt overwhelmed in his garden work, he would sometimes just stand still and take 3 full breaths. Breathe in, filling his lungs completely. Hold for a moment. Breathe out, releasing completely. 3 times. This brief practice, taking perhaps 30 seconds total, was often enough to shift his state, to step back from reactivity and return to presence.
Struggle helped prevent the collapse into everything is awful that can happen when we're depleted. Creating rituals of rest. Rest is more restorative when it's intentional, rather than something we collapse into when we can't continue.
Creating small rituals around rest honors it, marks it as valuable rather than shameful. This might look like brewing a special tea and sitting quietly to drink it, taking a bath with candles and music, reading a few pages of something nourishing before sleep, sitting in a favorite chair and watching the light change through the window, lying on the floor with your legs up the wall, a restorative yoga pose that requires no effort but signals to your body that it's safe to rest. The ritual aspect, the deliberate choice, the special cup or chair or time helps the mind settle into rest rather than continuing to race with worries and plans. It says, this time is for rest, not for productivity, and that's not only okay, but necessary. Tenzo had an evening ritual of sitting outside his small room after sunset, wrapped in his robe, and simply watching the stars emerge as the sky darkened. He didn't meditate formally. He didn't try to think profound thoughts. He just sat and looked and rested in the transition from day to night. This 15 or 20 minutes helped him let go of the day's activities and shift toward sleep. Working with difficult emotions. Exhaustion often brings difficult emotions in its wake. Frustration with our limitations, fear about the future, sadness about what we're unable to do, anger at circumstances beyond our control, guilt about needing rest. Rather than trying to push these emotions away or distract ourselves from them, mindfulness practice teaches us to turn toward them with kindness, not to wallow in them or be consumed by them, but to acknowledge them as part of the current experience. When a difficult emotion arises, you might try the RAIN practice developed by Tara Brach. Recognize what is happening, name the emotion. Frustration is here. Fear is present. This simple naming helps create a little distance. You're not consumed by frustration, you're noticing that frustration is part of your current experience. Allow the experience to be there, just as it is. Don't push it away or try to fix it immediately. Let it exist. This doesn't mean you like it or want it, just that you're willing to let it be present without immediately fighting it. Investigate with kindness. Where do you feel this emotion in your body? What thoughts accompany it? What does it need? This investigation isn't analytical dissection, but gentle curiosity. Oh, fear feels like tightness in my chest. It's bringing thoughts about not being able to manage. It seems to need reassurance. Nurture with self-compassion. Offer yourself kindness. Perhaps place a hand on your heart. Speak to yourself as you would to a dear friend who's struggling. This is really hard. It makes sense that you're feeling this way. You're doing the best you can. Tenzo used a simpler version of this practice. When difficult emotions arose, he would pause and say internally, "Yes, this is here. It's okay to feel this. What do I need right now?" Often what he needed was simply to acknowledge the feeling rather than trying to make it go away. Sometimes he needed to adjust his activities. If frustration was rising because he was pushing too hard, maybe he needed to rest. Sometimes he needed to talk with another monk to not carry the difficulty alone. Practicing saying no. One of the most important practices for sustainable effort is learning to say no to requests and opportunities that would overextend us. This is particularly challenging because saying no often triggers guilt or fear of disappointing others, fear of missing opportunities, fear of being seen as lazy or uncommitted. But every yes to something is a no to something else. When we say yes to a commitment that exceeds our capacity, we're saying no to rest, no to health, no to sustainability.
Sometimes these trade-offs are worth it for something truly important, but often they're made unconsciously out of habit or people-pleasing rather than genuine choice. Practicing saying no might start with small things: a social invitation when you're already depleted, an extra task at work when you're at capacity, an expectation you placed on yourself based on who you used to be rather than who you are now. Each no, even a small one, is practice in honoring your limits. You don't need to justify your no with elaborate explanations. "No, I'm not available for that" is a complete sentence. "No, that doesn't work for me" is sufficient. "No, I need to rest" is valid, even if others wouldn't need rest in the same situation. Tenzo had to say no to the expectation that he would work at the same pace he had 20 years ago. This was a kind of internal no, a release of his own demands on himself. He also occasionally had to say no to the abbot's requests for extra garden work when visiting dignitaries were coming, explaining honestly that he could maintain the garden's current state but couldn't add major new projects without risking his health. These no's were difficult but necessary. Building in buffer time. When we're tired and our capacity is reduced, everything takes longer than we expect. Tasks that would have taken an hour might take 2. We move slower, think slower, need more breaks. If we plan our time as if we had full capacity, we're constantly falling behind, constantly stressed by not meeting self-imposed deadlines. Building in buffer time means planning with realistic assessment of our current capacity. If you think something will take an hour, schedule an hour and a half. Plan fewer tasks per day than you might wish to accomplish. Create space between commitments so that if one runs long or if you need extra recovery time, you don't immediately fall into crisis. This feels inefficient to our productivity-oriented minds, but it's actually more effective because it reduces the stress of constantly running behind, allows for the reality of fluctuating energy, and creates space for the unexpected. Tenzo learned to estimate his work based on his current body, not his ideal or former capacity. He knew he could work productively for about 2 hours in the morning, needed a substantial rest, could work for another hour or so in the afternoon. He planned his tasks within this framework, rather than creating ambitious lists that left him feeling defeated when he couldn't complete them.
Creating accountability with compassion. Sometimes we need support from others to maintain practices that support our well-being. This might look like telling a friend, "I'm working on getting 8 hours of sleep. Will you check in with me about how that's going?" Or joining a meditation group where your presence is noted and valued. Or having a regular coffee date with someone who asks how you're really doing and actually wants to know the honest answer. This accountability works best when it's compassionate rather than judgmental, not someone who scolds you for failing to meet standards, but someone who supports you in meeting the commitments you've made to yourself, who celebrates small wins, who offers perspective when you're being too harsh with yourself. Tenzo had this kind of accountability with the abbot and with a few fellow monks who understood his practice. They would check in not with, "Did you complete all your work?" but with, "How are you caring for yourself? Are you resting enough? What support do you need?" This gentle accountability helped him maintain boundaries he might otherwise have let slip. The circle completes. Years passed. Tenzo continued his daily practice in the garden, his body growing older, his movements slower, but his presence deepening, his understanding refining. He watched countless springs arrive with their promise of renewal, countless summers reach their peak abundance, countless autumns prepare for rest, countless winters strip everything to essential forms. He trained younger monks in garden work, teaching them not just technical skills, but the larger practice, how to work with attention, how to continue gently, how to rest without guilt, how to be present with limitation.
Some of them learned quickly, their young bodies able to work long hours without pain. Others struggled with the patience required for gardening, wanting faster results, more dramatic achievements. To these impatient ones, Tenzo would say, the garden teaches at its own pace. You cannot hurry a seed to germinate. You cannot force a plant to grow faster than its nature allows. All you can do is create conditions for growth and then wait with patient attention. This is also true for your practice, for your life. One young monk, frustrated by how long it took to see results from his work, asked Tenzo, "How do you not get discouraged when you work and can barely see any difference?" Tenzo smiled. "Come with me," he said, and led the young monk to the edge of the garden, where a large stone marked a boundary. "Do you see this stone?" "Yes, teacher." "When I first came to this garden, this stone was rough with sharp edges. For 35 years I have walked past this stone nearly every day. Rain has fallen on it, wind has blown dust against it, frost has formed on it in winter, sun has beaten down on it in summer. And my feet, these old feet, have sometimes brushed against it, worn work shoes scraping its surface. Look at it now." The young monk looked carefully. The stone was smooth, its edges rounded, its surface polished by decades of patient weather and walking. "The difference from one day to the next is invisible," Tenzo continued. "If you ask the stone how it changed today compared to yesterday, it would say nothing happened. But over years, over decades, the invisible daily changes accumulate into complete transformation. This is how practice works. This is how life works. We show up each day and do what we can, and the changes are too small to see. But we trust the process. We continue gently, and one day, looking back across years, we discover we've been transformed smooth by patient, steady practice." This teaching, showing what gentle persistence creates over time, was one that Tenzo particularly valued, because the young often want dramatic transformation immediately, and they'll either burn themselves out trying to force it or give up in discouragement when it doesn't come. But those who can settle into patient daily practice, who can continue even when progress is invisible, who can trust that small, steady efforts compound into profound change, those are the ones whose practice becomes truly sustainable. Tenzo also taught about cycles, about the necessity of rest and renewal. "Look at these perennial plants," he would say, gesturing to beds of herbs and flowers. "Every year they die back. The stems brown, the leaves fall, and if you didn't know better, you'd think the plant was dead. But underground, the roots are alive, resting, gathering strength. When spring comes, new shoots emerge, often stronger than before because the plant has deepened its roots during the dormant period." We need our dormant periods too, times when we're not producing, not achieving visible results, when we might look dead to observers who don't understand the cycle. But underground, in the invisible places, we're deepening our roots, preparing for new growth when the season turns. He taught about accepting what is, rather than demanding what should be. You can work very hard to grow a plant that isn't suited to this climate and soil. You can amend the soil, create windbreaks, water constantly, protect from frost, and maybe you'll succeed for a while. But it will always be a struggle, always require enormous input for modest output. Or you can work with what naturally thrives here, plants suited to this climate, this soil, this amount of sun and rain. These will flourish with much less effort because you're working with their nature rather than against it. The same is true for your practice, for your life. You can struggle to be someone you're not, to achieve things mismatched with your nature and circumstances, or you can discover who you actually are, what actually suits you, and work with that. The second path is gentler and, paradoxically, often more fruitful. He taught about the difference between giving up and letting go. Giving up is collapse, is defeat, is loss of hope. Letting go is wisdom, is acceptance, is release of what cannot or should not be held. Sometimes what looks like giving up from the outside is actually letting go. Someone who stops pushing themselves to exhaustion hasn't given up, they've wisely let go of unsustainable demands. Someone who reduces their commitments to what they can actually manage hasn't given up, they've let go of the illusion that they must do everything. These teachings weren't abstract philosophy. They came from Tenzo's lived experience, from the decades of showing up in his garden, from the times he struggled and the times he flowed, from his mistakes and his wisdom, from his exhaustion and his recovery. One autumn, when Tenzo was in his early 70s, he developed a respiratory illness that left him weak and bedridden for several weeks. For the first time in decades, he couldn't work in his garden at all. Other monks maintained the essential tasks, watering, harvesting what was ready, but many things went undone. Weeds grew unchecked, some plants failed from neglect. Lying in his small room, too weak even to sit up for long, Tenzo faced a test of everything he believed about practice. Could he be at peace when he couldn't practice in his usual way? Could he accept this time of forced rest?
Could he accept this limitation without drowning in frustration? Could he trust that this too was part of the cycle, the garden's winter, the necessary fallow time? It wasn't easy. He felt the pull toward worry. What if he never recovered full strength? What if someone else took over the garden permanently? What if all his years of work unraveled in his absence? His mind spun stories about loss and failure. But he also had decades of practice in noticing these stories without being consumed by them. He could see the worry arising and say, "Ah, yes, worry, that's here. And what else is true?" And what else was true? He was breathing. He was cared for. The sun still rose each day, whether he was in the garden or not. Life continued its immense turning, even when he couldn't participate in his usual ways. He practiced with his breath, since his body was too weak for other practice. He practiced with acceptance, letting each moment be exactly as it was, rather than demanding it be different. He practiced with gratitude, finding things to appreciate even in limitation. The friend who brought him soup, the sound of rain on the roof, the slow return of strength as his body healed. After 6 weeks, he was well enough to return to the garden. It looked wilder than he'd ever seen it, somewhat chaotic, definitely worse than when he'd left it. His first reaction was dismay. All that work undone so quickly. But then a different perspective arose. The garden hadn't ended because he was gone for 6 weeks. It had changed, yes, but it was still fundamentally itself, still soil and plants and sunlight and rain. He could work with this wild version, bringing it gradually back to order, just as he'd worked with wild ground when he first came here decades ago. Nothing was ruined beyond recovery. It was just work to be done, and he had time, and he could do it gently, at the pace his recovering body allowed. This illness and recovery taught him something he hadn't fully understood before. His practice wasn't dependent on particular external conditions. It didn't require him to be healthy and strong. It didn't require the garden to be in perfect condition. It was fundamentally about the quality of attention and care he brought to each moment, whatever that moment contained. He could practice while sick in bed. He could practice while looking at a chaotic garden. He could practice while strong and while weak, while succeeding and while struggling. The practice was simply this: being present with what is, bringing kindness to that presence, continuing with whatever was possible in each moment, and trusting that this was enough.
Ninth, that acceptance doesn't mean resignation. We can fully accept the reality of this moment while still working to change what can be changed. Tenzo accepted that his 78-year-old body was tired and slow, but he didn't resign himself to doing nothing. He worked within his capacities, adjusted his approach, asked for help when needed, and continued to tend the garden in the ways available to him. Acceptance of reality creates the foundation for wise action. Denial of reality leads to either futile struggle or passive collapse. 10th, that practice is not about reaching some final destination where all difficulties cease. It's about how we are with the journey, how we meet each moment, how we show up even when showing up is hard. The garden is never finished, never perfect. There's always more work that could be done. But each day, Tenzo did what he could, and that was enough. Not because it was objectively sufficient to meet some external standard, but because it was what was actually possible, and presence and care were more important than any particular outcome. These understandings weren't philosophical abstractions for Tenzo. They were embodied wisdom, learned through his muscles and bones and breath across decades of showing up. They lived in how he moved, how he rested, how he related to his work and his limitations. They couldn't be fully transmitted through words, but they radiated from his presence, and people felt them even if they couldn't articulate what they were sensing. A story completes, a practice continues. It was early spring. Tenzo was 81. The garden was waking from winter dormancy, the first shoots pushing through still cold soil. He had come out after morning meditation to simply look, to greet the seasons turning, to see what was emerging. His body was very tired these days. The accumulated years of hard physical labor, the aging of bones and joints and muscles, the various ailments that come with long life, all of this meant that simply walking to the garden required effort. His back hurt constantly now. His breathing grew short with minor exertion. His hands, gnarled with arthritis, could barely grip tools anymore. Yet, here he was, still coming to the garden, still caring, still present. A young monk who had recently joined the monastery saw him standing by the beds, leaning on a cane for support, and approached him. "Teacher," the young monk asked, "why do you still come here when you can barely work anymore? Isn't it painful? Wouldn't it be better to rest?" Tenzo smiled. "I come because this is my practice," he said. "Not practice for some future goal, not practice to achieve something, just practice, showing up, being present, caring for what's here. My body is old and tired, yes, I can't do much. Some days I can pull a few weeds, some days I can only stand here and look, but I am still here, still present, still connected to this life that's been my teacher for so many decades." "But doesn't it frustrate you," the young monk persisted, "that you used to be able to do so much and now can do so little?" "Sometimes," Tenzo admitted, "the mind still sometimes tells stories about how I should be different than I am. But those are just stories, and I've learned not to believe everything the mind says. The truth is simpler. I am an 81-year-old man with an 81-year-old body. This body can do what it can do today, and that's enough. Not enough according to some standard I'm imagining, but enough because it's what's actually here, actually possible." "How did you learn that?" the young monk asked. "How did you learn to be at peace with limitation?" Tenzo thought about this. "I didn't learn it all at once," he said finally. "I learned it gradually, over decades, through many times of pushing too hard and exhausting myself, many times of comparing myself to others or to my younger self and feeling inadequate. The garden taught me, mostly. Plants don't grow on human schedules. They grow at their own pace, responsive to conditions, sometimes thriving and sometimes struggling. I learned to work with that rather than demanding it be different. And slowly I learned to bring that same acceptance to myself." "But how do I learn this?" the young monk asked.
a note of urgency in his voice. "I keep exhausting myself, trying to do everything perfectly, skipping meals to meditate more, and then I crash and can't function at all. I know this isn't sustainable, but I don't know how to change." Tenzo looked at the young monk with compassion, recognizing his younger self in this driven, anxious person. "You're trying too hard," he said gently. "You're treating practice like a war to be won, rather than a path to be walked. The very effort you're putting into trying to become peaceful is creating agitation." "But shouldn't I try?" the young monk protested. "Isn't effort important?" "Yes," Tenzo said, "effort is important, but there are different kinds of effort. There's the straining, forceful effort that exhausts you, and there's the steady, gentle effort that sustains you. The difference isn't always in how much you do, but in the quality of attention you bring to it, the relationship you have with your practice." "I don't understand the difference," the young monk said. Tenzo pointed to a bed where new shoots were emerging. "See those seedlings? They're putting tremendous effort into growing, breaking through soil, reaching towards light, establishing roots, but they're not straining. They're not trying to grow faster than their nature allows. They're simply growing at their own pace, with patient persistence. This is the kind of effort I'm talking about." "So I should just be patient and everything will work out?" the young monk asked skeptically. "No," Tenzo said, "patience alone isn't enough. You need patience combined with steady, sustainable effort. You need to show up consistently, day after day, and do what you can with the energy you have. But you also need to release your attachment to particular outcomes and timelines. You need to trust the process rather than trying to force results." "How do I trust when I can't see progress?" the young monk asked, the frustration clear in his voice. "By remembering that most important progress is invisible," Tenzo said. "The seed germinating underground looks like nothing is happening, but crucial transformation is occurring. Your practice is the same. Just because you can't see dramatic changes doesn't mean nothing is happening. Trust that steady presence, even without visible results, is creating change at levels you can't yet perceive." They stood together in silence for a moment, looking at the garden. Then Tenzo said, "Let me tell you what I wish someone had told me when I was young and burning myself out, trying to be perfect." The young monk leaned forward, attentive. "First," Tenzo said, "you are already enough. Not potentially enough if you work hard enough, not eventually enough if you achieve enough. Already enough, right now, exactly as you are. Your worth doesn't depend on your accomplishments. This body, this mind, this human being standing here, this
is already complete, already whole. Practice isn't about becoming someone different. It's about being fully present with who you already are." The young monk's eyes filled with tears, though he wasn't entirely sure why. "Second," Tenzo continued, "rest is not your enemy. It's not something to overcome or minimize. It's essential to sustainable practice. The exhale is as important as the inhale. The fallow season is as important as the harvest. Your body's signals for rest are wisdom, not weakness. Listen to them. Third, gentleness is more powerful than force. Water wears away stone not through violence, but through patient persistence. Be like water with yourself, gentle, persistent, adaptive. When you meet an obstacle, flow around it rather than battering yourself against it. Fourth, comparison will destroy you. There will always be someone who seems further along, more accomplished, more dedicated. So what? You're not walking their path, you're walking yours. Your only job is to show up for your own life with as much presence and care as you can manage. That's enough. Fifth, perfection is an illusion that prevents presence.
If you're always focused on how things should be, you can't be fully present with how they are. And how they are, this messy, imperfect, beautiful reality, this is where life actually happens. Don't miss it by being lost in ideas about how it should be different. Sixth, community sustains us. You're not meant to walk this path alone. Let yourself be supported. Ask for help. Offer help. We're all in this together, all struggling and succeeding and learning. There's no shame in needing support. That's just being human. And seventh, meaning matters more than achievement. Find what genuinely matters to you and pour your energy there. Work that feels meaningful provides energy. Work that feels meaningless depletes energy, no matter how objectively important it might be. Stay connected to why your practice matters to you. And finally, Tenzo said, his voice soft, be kind to yourself. You're doing hard work, trying to wake up, trying to live consciously, trying to be present. This is not easy. You will fail sometimes. You will mess up, fall down, forget everything you've learned. This is part of the path, not a deviation from it. Meet your failures with compassion rather than condemnation. Get up, dust yourself off, and begin again. Every moment is a chance to start fresh. The young monk wiped his eyes. Thank you, teacher, he said. I needed to hear this. You're welcome, Tenzo said, but don't just hear it, practice it. Start today. What's one small way you could be gentler with yourself right now? The young monk thought for a moment. I could stop skipping meals to meditate more, he said. I could eat lunch and trust that feeding my body is also part of practice. Yes, Tenzo said, smiling. That's perfect. Start there. One small, sustainable change at a time. This is how transformation happens, not through dramatic gestures, but through small shifts practiced consistently. They stood together a moment longer. Then the young monk bowed deeply and walked back toward the main building. Tenzo watched him go, hoping that some seeds had been planted, that in time this young monk might discover the path of gentle perseverance that had sustained Tenzo across decades. Then Tenzo turned back to the garden. The seedlings were still there, still growing at their own pace, still teaching their patient lessons. He stood watching them for a few more minutes, then slowly, carefully, leaning heavily on his cane, made his way back to his room to rest. His work was not finished. A garden is never finished, never reaches some final perfect state. But today's work was complete. He had shown up, he had been present, he had shared what he could, and now he would rest, trusting that tomorrow would bring whatever it brought, and he would meet it with whatever capacity he had, and that would be enough. Because it always had been enough, all these years. Not enough according to some imagined standard, but enough in the only way that truly mattered, enough to continue, enough to practice, enough to be present with life as it actually is. This is the teaching of gentle perseverance, the wisdom of still trying even when tired. Not heroic effort that burns bright and burns out, but sustainable practice that continues steadily, day by day, season after season, year after year. The garden grows, the gardener ages, the practice continues. This is enough. This has always been enough. This will always be enough. Practices for deep rest and sleep. Now, dear friend, as we move toward the closing of this long meditation, let us turn to practices specifically designed to help you rest more deeply, to sleep more peacefully, to restore your tired body and mind. These practices draw from both ancient contemplative traditions and modern sleep science, offering you tools to support the rest you so deeply deserve. The practice of progressive relaxation. This technique, developed by physician Edmund Jacobson in the early 20th century, involves systematically tensing and then releasing different muscle groups throughout the body. The deliberate tension followed by release helps us recognize the difference between tension and relaxation and signals the nervous system to shift into rest mode. Begin by lying comfortably. Take a few deep breaths. Then, starting with your feet, curl your toes tightly, creating tension. Hold this for 5 seconds, noticing what tension feels like. Then release completely, letting the feet go soft. Notice the difference between the tensed state and the relaxed state. Move up through your calves. Tighten these muscles by pointing your toes toward your head. Hold for 5 seconds, then release completely. Feel the relaxation flowing through your lower legs. Continue up through your body, thighs, buttocks, belly, chest, hands, arms, shoulders, neck, face. For each area, create tension, hold it briefly, then release completely. The whole practice takes perhaps 10 to 15 minutes, and by the end, your body will have received a clear message. It's time to rest. Research shows that progressive muscle relaxation reduces anxiety, lowers blood pressure, and improves sleep quality. It's particularly helpful when physical tension is preventing rest. The method doesn't require you to be already relaxed. It works even when you're tense and stressed, perhaps especially then. The body heat sleep technique. Your body temperature naturally drops as you prepare for sleep, and you can support this process through simple practices. About 90 minutes before you want to sleep, take a warm bath or shower. This temporarily raises your core temperature. When you get out, your body will work to cool down, and this cooling process promotes sleepiness.
The ideal water temperature is around 100 to 105 degrees Fahrenheit. Warm, but not uncomfortably hot. Stay in for at least 10 minutes if bathing, or take a longer, warmer shower. If you can, keep your bedroom cool, around 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit, which supports the body's natural temperature drop during sleep. Research from the University of Texas found that bathing 1 to 2 hours before bed in water around 104 to 109 degrees Fahrenheit improved sleep quality and helped people fall asleep an average of 10 minutes faster. The mechanism involves the body's circadian regulation of temperature, with the bath triggering the cooling process that signals sleep time. Breathing for sleep, the 4-7-8 technique. This breathing practice, popularized by Dr. Andrew Weil, is remarkably simple yet effective for calming the nervous system and inducing sleep. It's based on pranayama practices from yoga, adapted for modern use. Here's how. Sit or lie comfortably. Place the tip of your tongue against the ridge of tissue just behind your upper front teeth. Keep it there through the entire practice. Exhale completely through your mouth, making a whoosh sound. Close your mouth and inhale quietly through your nose for a count of 4. Hold your breath for a count of 7. Exhale completely through your mouth, making a whoosh sound for a count of 8. This is 1 cycle. Repeat for a total of 4 cycles. The ratio is what matters. 1 part inhale, almost 2 parts hold, 2 parts exhale. This extended exhale activates the parasympathetic nervous system, signaling rest and relaxation. The practice takes almost no time, requires no equipment, and can be done anywhere. Many people report that it helps them fall back asleep if they wake during the night. Guided imagery for rest. The mind and body are intimately connected. When we vividly imagine peaceful scenes, our body responds as if we're actually experiencing them. Guided imagery uses this connection to promote deep relaxation. Create or recall in your mind a place of perfect peace and safety. This might be a real place you've been, a beach, a forest, a mountaintop, or it might be entirely imaginary. The key is that it feels completely safe and peaceful to you. Now engage all your senses in this place. What do you see? Notice colors, light, shadows. What do you hear? Perhaps waves, wind through trees, birds, or perfect silence. What do you smell? Salt air, pine, flowers, clean earth? What's the temperature? Is it warm, cool, perfectly comfortable? Make this place as vivid and detailed as possible. Let yourself be there, completely safe, completely at ease. Stay with this imagery, letting it fill your awareness. Your body, unable to distinguish between vividly imagined experience and actual experience, will begin to relax as if you're truly in this peaceful place. Studies show that guided imagery can reduce stress, lower heart rate and blood pressure, improve sleep, and even boost immune function. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to access these states of deep relaxation. The sleep sanctuary practice. Your sleep environment significantly affects your rest quality. Creating a sanctuary for sleep sends powerful signals to your brain that this space is for rest, not for work or worry or stimulation. This means keeping your bedroom cool, dark, and quiet. Use blackout curtains or an eye mask if needed. Use earplugs or white noise if your environment is noisy. Remove electronic devices, or at least put them across the room and face down so lights don't disturb you. Keep the room uncluttered. Visual chaos can create mental agitation. Consider what signals rest for you personally. Perhaps soft sheets, a particular pillow, a certain scent like lavender. Perhaps gentle music or nature sounds. Perhaps complete silence. Create conditions that tell your nervous system this is a safe place for deep rest. Research shows that bedroom environment matters enormously for sleep quality. Light exposure, particularly blue light from screens, suppresses melatonin production and delays sleep. Temperature affects sleep architecture. We sleep better in cool rooms. Noise can prevent us from reaching deeper sleep stages even when it doesn't fully wake us. The worry unloading practice. Many people struggle to sleep because their minds won't stop churning through worries, plans, and problems. The worry unloading practice gives these concerns a place to go other than round and round in your head. Keep a notebook by your bed. If you find yourself worrying about something while trying to sleep, sit up, turn on a small light if needed, and write it down. Not extensively, just enough to capture it. Talk to Sarah about project, schedule dentist appointment, figure out budget issue. The act of writing it down tells your brain, okay, we've got this recorded, we can deal with it tomorrow. For now, we can let it go. This simple practice is remarkably effective because much of our nighttime worry stems from fear of forgetting important things. Once we've externalized the concern, written it down somewhere we'll see it tomorrow, the urgency decreases. We can release it for now because we know it won't be lost. The practice of loving kindness for sleep. Traditional loving kindness meditation, or metta practice, involves directing wishes of well-being towards yourself and others. A simplified version can be wonderfully soothing before sleep. Lying comfortably, bring to mind someone you love easily, perhaps a child, a pet, a dear friend. Feel the warmth and care you have for them. Then silently offer them simple wishes. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be happy. May you be at ease. Feel these wishes as genuine, not just words. Let the feeling of care and kindness fill you. Then turn these same wishes towards yourself. May I be safe. May I be healthy. May I be happy. May I be at ease. This can feel awkward at first if you're not accustomed to directing kindness towards yourself, but it's profoundly soothing. You're offering yourself the same care and warmth you'd offer someone you love.
Research shows that loving-kindness meditation increases positive emotions, reduces negative emotions, improves social connection, and even affects physical health markers. The practice of self-compassion before sleep creates a sense of safety and care that supports deep rest.
The gratitude sleep practice. Related to loving kindness is a simple gratitude practice that helps shift the mind from problems to appreciation. As you lie down to sleep, recall 3 good things from your day. They don't need to be major. Small pleasures count. The warmth of your morning coffee, a kind word from a friend, the beauty of clouds at sunset, the fact that you have a comfortable bed to lie in. Let yourself feel the appreciation rather than just listing items mechanically. Feel the warmth, the gladness, the simple happiness that these things brought. This practice serves multiple functions. It interrupts worry spirals by directing attention elsewhere. It cultivates a general sense of well-being. It reminds us that even on difficult days, there are things to appreciate. And it creates positive associations with the transition to sleep. Instead of bedtime being when we review everything wrong, it becomes when we acknowledge what was good. Research shows that people who practice gratitude sleep longer and sleep better, take less time to fall asleep, and feel more refreshed upon waking. The practice literally changes our brain patterns, strengthening neural pathways associated with positive emotion and well-being. Sleep hygiene essentials. While not strictly a meditation or relaxation practice, good sleep hygiene creates the foundation for rest. This includes maintaining a consistent sleep schedule, going to bed and waking at roughly the same time, even on weekends. Your circadian rhythm thrives on regularity. Limiting caffeine to mornings only, as it can stay in your system for 6 hours or more. That afternoon coffee might be interfering with your sleep more than you realize. Avoiding large meals and alcohol close to bedtime. Both can disrupt sleep quality. Getting exposure to bright light, especially morning sunlight, which helps regulate your circadian rhythm. Exercising regularly, but not within a few hours of bedtime, as exercise can be too activating close to sleep time. Creating a wind-down routine that signals to your body that sleep is approaching. This might include dimming lights, turning off screens, perhaps reading, doing gentle stretches, or practicing one of the relaxation techniques described above. These practical measures create conditions that support the deeper relaxation practices. Think of them as tending the garden of your sleep, creating the environment where rest can naturally flourish. Closing meditation and final blessing. And now, dear friend, we come to the close of this long journey through the practice of gentle perseverance, through the wisdom of continuing even when tired. We've walked through Tenzo's garden, witnessed his struggles and his wisdom. We've explored the science and spirituality of sustainable practice. We've learned about rest, renewal, and the patient transformation that comes from steady presence. As you lie here now, letting the weight of your body be fully supported, take a moment to appreciate yourself for being here, for listening, for showing up even when you're tired. This itself is the practice, not being perfect, not having endless energy, but being present with whatever you have. Feel your breath, that faithful companion that has been with you since your very first moment in this world and will be with you until your last. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. The rhythm of life itself, gentle and persistent, asking nothing of you but allowing you to receive its gift. Let your body sink deeper into rest. If there's any remaining tension in your forehead, let it soften. Your jaw, let it be loose, teeth slightly apart. Your shoulders, let them drop away from your ears, heavy and at ease. Your hands can be soft, fingers gently curled or extended, whatever feels most restful. Your legs and feet, heavy and relaxed, requiring nothing of them. As you rest here, know that you don't have to do anything more today. You've done enough. Whatever you managed to accomplish or didn't accomplish, whatever went well or didn't go well, all of that can be released now. This moment is simply for rest, for allowing your tired body and mind to be held in gentle care. Imagine, if you like, that you're being held in the palm of a great kindness, whether you think of this as the universe, as nature, as divine love, or simply as the basic goodness of existence. You're supported, you're cared for, you can rest. If thoughts arise about tomorrow's responsibilities, about things you need to remember, about worries or concerns, just notice them gently and let them float by like clouds drifting across the sky. They don't need your attention right now. Right now is for rest. Tomorrow, when you wake, you can attend to whatever needs attention. But now, in this moment, you can simply be. Remember Tenzo in his garden, that old monk with his aching back and his tired body, still showing up, still bringing presence and care to his work, still finding meaning in simple actions. Remember that he did this not by being superhuman, but by being gently, compassionately human, by accepting his limitations, by resting when needed, by continuing at a sustainable pace. You too can practice this way. You too can continue even when tired, not by forcing yourself past breaking point, but by honoring your capacity, by being kind to your struggles, by trusting that small, steady efforts compound over time into transformation. The garden grows whether we watch or not. The seasons turn whether we're ready or not. Life continues its vast unfolding, and we're part of it all, exactly as we are, tired though we may be, limited though we are, beautiful in our imperfect humanity. So rest now. Let sleep come when it's ready. Let your body do its work of restoration, while your conscious mind releases into dreams or into the deep darkness of dreamless sleep. Trust that you'll wake when you're meant to wake, and that tomorrow will bring what it brings, and you'll meet it with whatever capacity you have, and that will be enough. As you drift toward sleep, you might silently repeat these phrases or simply let them wash over you. May I be safe in my sleep. May I be healthy and strong. May I be happy and at ease. May I rest deeply. May all beings who are tired find rest. May all beings who are struggling find ease. May all beings who are trying, even when it's hard, find the strength to continue gently. May all beings know they are enough, exactly as they are. And if you've enjoyed this journey tonight, if these words have served you, I'd be grateful if you'd take a moment tomorrow, not now, now is for sleep, but tomorrow to like this video and subscribe to the Night Garden Mind channel. Your support helps these meditations reach others who might need
Them who might benefit from this gentle wisdom about sustainable practice and compassionate perseverance. But for now, let all of that go. Let everything go except this breath, this moment, this blessed opportunity to rest. You're safe. You're held. You can let go now. The night embraces you. The darkness is not emptiness, but fullness. The rich darkness of soil where seeds are germinating.
of space where stars are being born. You rest in this darkness, and it's good, and you're good, and everything that needs to happen will happen. But right now, there's only this: breath, body, rest, peace. Sleep well, dear friend. May your rest be deep and restorative. May you wake renewed, perhaps not perfectly energized. We're not seeking perfection, but renewed enough, restored enough to meet your day with presence and care. May you carry forward the teaching of gentle perseverance, of still trying even when tired, of honoring your limits while staying connected to what matters, of being patient with yourself as you would be with a small child or a beloved elder, with tenderness and care, and the recognition that you're doing your best, and your best is enough. The night is here, the garden rests, and you too can rest now. Good night.